On the 20th of April 2023, commentary YouTuber iilluminaughtii made a tweet accusing fellow content creator Legal Eagle of plagiarism. And I think if there are two words that can be used to summarize this tweet, it is the that's three words, the domino effect, because this tweet basically led to an unprecedented saga, which I genuinely don't think has been matched this year, and I would be absolutely shocked if anything like this happens next year. You see, iilluminaughtii at one point was a very well-respected content creator in the community who regularly released videos where she criticized other people's actions, shady businesses, and just in general, the wrongdoings of other people in the social media space, but also the business world. So when this tweet came out from iilluminaughtii, also known as Blair, who I will be referring to her as throughout this video, a lot of people were shocked by this, mainly because shortly after this post Blair made, she was not just proven to be false, but also proven to be an outright hypocrite. And the word hypocrisy is probably the main word that we're going to be using throughout this video, because over the last year, in 2023, iilluminaughtii has pretty much exposed herself every single month for being an even bigger hypocrite than we originally thought. No matter what she said, no matter how she defended herself, given the events to come after this tweet, she continuously made herself sound worse and worse and worse. And genuinely, if there was an example on how to not handle a situation, Blair is the textbook guide. If somebody was gonna write a book, and that book happened to be a guide on how to absolutely terribly, horrifically, completely awfully handle a YouTube drama situation, they, as in Blair, should write that book. Because yeah, obviously after this tweet it was proven that Blair is not only a hypocrite, but also just outright has seemingly stolen content from other documentaries out there, taking word for word points and either rephrasing the words or just outright using the words and content for herself. But the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, this was only the beginning. She apologized for the situation, but the apology just led to I don't even know how I could describe this, just a complete cluster. Because after this terrible apology that Blair made, we saw a snowball effect of such magnitude that I would genuinely be shocked if we see anything to match this in 2024. The controversy surrounding Blair went from a simple plagiarism allegation to allegations of emotional abuse, doxing, manipulation, spreading horrific lies about her friends, making her friends homeless, accusations of buying subscribers, hypocrisy, and the biggest allegation of all, being the new creepshow art. And I'm not even joking, I genuinely feel like that's probably the worst allegation any content creator ever could face. You can be accused of stealing things, you can be accused of scamming your fans, but ladies and gentlemen, if you get accused of being this individual, it's over. But yeah, after a cycle of exposés and ex-employees and ex-friends coming out and speaking about Blair and their experiences with how she has treated them over the last few years, the question obviously is how did she then respond to all of this? Because obviously, we've seen this apology, I've gone through it in the past, but how did she respond to all of the new allegations and the new pretty much just mess that she herself had created? But of course, she uploaded this infamous video right here where she responded to everything. And in short, just like, you know, basically every other single response out there made by a YouTuber, it absolutely sucked. As you can see from the dislikes, the comments, everything, it was it was not looking good. She was exposed for lying, taking things out of context, manipulation, and pretty much, you know, all the other things that she was previously accused of and responding to in this video. This video pretty much just amplified everything that the entire internet was having a go at her for. It just made most people think, wow, you are genuinely a colossal bellend. And because of this, more and more videos were made about Blair, documentaries were made, people explaining the entire situation, this one, and most importantly, this one, which explains pretty much everything that I'm saying right now in finer details, and you should definitely go and watch if you do not know who iilluminaughtii is. And you may be thinking, why are you going through this so quickly? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am basically speedrunning the situation from May to about July of 2023 because I've already covered that, and this video is designed to not necessarily be an update, but just in general cover every, well, I guess this is an update, to cover every single thing that has happened in the last 6 months with iilluminaughtii. Because ladies and gentlemen, if you thought it was bad before, oh boy, has it just gotten unbelievably, horrifically, absolutely awfully, godforsakenly, terribly worse. Because over the last few months, more and more videos, as I said, have come out about her. More ex-friends such as the Critic and Wonderstruck made their big videos, pretty much exposing Blair for being even worse than you can possibly imagine. And just in general, the overall perception of iilluminaughtii had gone from this well-respected content creator who people once went for facts, logic, and reasoning to, oh my god, how are you worse than Creep? This is insane. But yeah, the last time I spoke about this situation, it ended on a very, very sour note. Because of course, we've now seen that Blair went through the process of responding on her YouTube channel, even making tweets out there and apologies, and none of these things were working. People were just getting more and more aggressive with their criticisms towards Blair, justifiably and rightly so, and Blair seemingly did not know what to do. So just like any guilt-free YouTuber, what did she do? She sent cease and desists. So iilluminaughtii has officially sent me a cease and desist. Best part is, she cites parts of the video which I had no part in, and demands I make a public apology. Now I say this quite a lot whenever I see a YouTuber send a cease and desist, but this is genuinely my favourite display and representation of a person's conscience and innocence, because, you know, there's nothing quite like being innocent to the point of where you have to sue somebody into silence. And bearing in mind, the main cease and desist that I've received in my time came from this bloke. And I've made this point before in other cases when people have used cease and desist to silence people, but if you're on the same methodology and actions of Onision, I don't think that's a good place to be in. But after this, after all the people responded to yet again another controversy which has been self-inflicted by iilluminaughtii, I kind of thought to myself, I'm just going to wait this out, give it about 6 months, see what happens. Maybe Blair will look at everything, look how she's treated everybody in her life absolutely horribly, and just wait for her to finally come out and just admit that she was in the wrong, because there's nothing really else I imagine that she could do in this situation. Given the sheer level of exposés, given the fact that the entire internet is against her, rightly so, given all of the screenshots, receipts, evidence against this woman, disproving her outright terrible claims against people that were absolutely not true, given all of that, surely she would finally come out, apologize, and just move on. Surely she would do that. No, she basically did the opposite of that. 6 months later, things haven't just gotten worse, but they have just gotten absolutely silly. But I quickly want to interject here and be very annoying and say, could you please subscribe to the YouTube channel? I regularly put out very, very long videos, and I would really appreciate it if you came and subscribed to the channel, consumed the content, and just in general joined my empire. No, but seriously, if you could subscribe, that would be absolutely lovely. You can unsubscribe if you get bored eventually. I can completely understand that, but weirdly enough, a lot of people actually subscribe more if you ask, and I know it's very annoying to hear if you're already subscribed, but just ignore it. But if you don't want to ignore it, maybe like the video and comment beans, something that could help me very much. But yeah, sorry for being annoying. Let's continue with the actual video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I was going to make this video in chronological order, but I feel like it's best to cover more of the relevant things first, the things that have happened more recently and the more serious things in my personal opinion. Of course, everything in this is relevant and is serious, but the thing we're now about to go into, involving Oz Media versus iilluminaughtii, in my opinion, is one of the most vicious and disgusting things that I personally think that I've witnessed. It truly does represent iilluminaughtii's character and who she is as a human being, and not necessarily in a good light. Oz Media is, of course, not just an ex-friend or co-worker of iilluminaughtii, but also the ex-partner of Blair. These two were not only in a relationship, but they also had a group channel together, where most of the allegations from Blair's ex-friends actually seems to source from, and of course that group channel was called Sad Milk. Now, I'm not going to go through every single detail involving Sad Milk. If you want to know more about that, again, I recommend you go and watch my YouTube video about this, where I go through basically the first part of this timeline. This is pretty much the part 3 to this saga, but yes, the main kind of thing that was going on with Sad Milk was just mistreatment of employees, mistreatment of friends, mistreatment of pretty much everybody that was involved by Blair, also issues with payments, and just in general, things with Sad Milk were not great and made Blair look out to be an even more worse person than we originally thought, which I will keep on saying throughout this because there are a lot of examples of that. It's actually a shocking amount, and the fact that these amounts of things keep on building up over time is quite astonishing, to be honest with you. But with Oz, yes, he was a part of Sad Milk. Milk, but also he lived with Blair at one point, which makes this story even more interesting, as Oz would not only have a business and social media perspective of Blair, but he would also know her on a day-to-day perspective. And I say that because I feel like when you live with somebody, you truly do get a better understanding of who they are as a human being. Now, not necessarily if they're a bad person or a good person. I think if you've lived with somebody, you will come to see another side to them, whether that's good, whether that's bad. That's up for you to decipher and decide. But I've lived with people in the past where I've had an opinion on them before that, and then my opinion has changed. Whether, again, for good or bad, it has definitely changed because, you know, you witness them all the time in their own living space. And I think that's where you can truly see the finer details of who somebody is as a human being. A lot of people say before you get married, you should live with your partner for a few years to work out if you truly do love each other. And I think that's very true. I think when you live with somebody, you could go through a lot of trials and tribulations. And I think in this situation, Oz Media has definitely gone through those trials and tribulations when it comes to Blair. These two were in a relationship and they lived with each other. But of course, yeah, like most friendships that Blair has had with people, her friendship and relationship with Oz absolutely declined because of her own treatment of Oz and everybody in Sad Milk, and pretty much just everybody that Blair knew. Oz earlier this year came out of a large Twitter thread where he supported the allegations against his former partner, stating, "I think it's time that I actually speak out on the current Twitter threads regarding Sad Milk in 2020 to 2021, and I cannot express how scared I am to do this. The fear I have in my gut to even speak out. However, I do feel it's important to say my piece on this subject matter." And yes, in the next part of this thread, Oz pretty much goes on to back all of the statements made out there by people like Wonderstruck and the Click, and also he goes on to explain just in general how terrible Blair was to everyone, and just in general how Blair would use manipulative tactics into controlling and silencing her employees, and statements such as, "Blair, I'm sorry you have hurt me. I need to speak about this without being told by you, oh, I'm just the villain, I'm always in the wrong," or something along those lines. Words I have heard from you consistently. I want to be heard for once. And I think anybody that has been in a toxic relationship or friendship can attest to these phrases being used when somebody is trying to guilt trip you into being silent. Oh, I'm the bad guy, I'm the best, stuff like that. Obviously, these are phrases used to stop people to say their thoughts and feelings because it's designed to make you the villain rather than them actually be the villain. And with all the threads going around earlier this year, it's clear that this just wasn't a one-time thing, but this was something that Blair used to do to pretty much every single person that she knew. Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, Blair has probably been nice to one human being at one point of time. Allegedly. But notice with this original statement that Oz made, where they say that they have a terrible fear in their gut, you know, they're feeling absolutely terrified to the point of where they physically feel scared. Now, when this first came out, it would actually be quite easy to be like, oh, maybe you're going a bit over the top, maybe you're exaggerating. Obviously, that would be a dick thing to do, but I could see some people on the internet doing that, being like, this is just YouTube drama, why are you saying that? But it turned out that Oz most definitely was justified in having this feeling of fear. Because notice that I just mentioned the whole legal things and stuff like that. There's a reason for that. Because of things like this. On August the 23rd, Oz made a tweet saying, "I'm still working on my video. However, Blair is taking legal action against me to take my home. I need help with the legal costs and will be providing a full and detailed explanation on how I'm even in this position within my video." Now, obviously, I feel like a lot of context needs to be added on to this. You're probably thinking, what have I missed something? Taking the house? Yeah, there's a lot of things that needs to be explained here, but just at the context of what this tweet says alone, I think this is one of the most vile and despicable things Blair has done in this situation. Arguably, it is the most despicable thing. This is just absolutely abhorrent, but as you slowly add more and more context into how and why this is happening, it just gets absolutely so much worse. But yes, the reason that Oz is saying this in this tweet is because for months now, Oz has basically been working on a video about their experience of Blair and how Blair has treated other people in Sad Milk, and this video has mysteriously been constantly delayed, and it seems that this tweet is the reason for it. It's gone from a cease and desist to an actual court battle about the foreclosure of somebody's home, but then skipping forward in the timeline even further, this isn't the only court case currently ongoing between iilluminaughtii and Oz Media, because now iilluminaughtii is currently suing Oz Media for defamation. He is having to deal with two separate court cases from the same individual that began at relatively the same period of time. This is despicable, but Blair absolutely knows what she is doing here. And ladies and gentlemen, to me personally, not only is this a fine example of Blair completely and utterly taking advantage of her financial position of power over Oz, but it is also an example of her yet again trying to silence somebody. The cease and desist didn't work, so now she is going to take this to a legal battle. Obviously, her own words have not worked. Obviously, they completely backfired in her face. So now, with this legal battle, I think she is very much hoping that this will stop Oz from ever making this video, which will no doubt make her look unbelievably worse. And the reason for that is when you're in a legal battle, obviously your lawyers are going to tell you to not speak so much publicly. You're going to have to usually get permission from your lawyers to speak publicly because you don't want to jeopardize your position in court. And I think that is why Blair is doing this. I think she knows if she takes him to court, then there is a likelihood that the video will never ever be made, especially if she actually wins this case. Because ladies and gentlemen, right now, it's all about the battle of public opinion. But of course, we all know public opinion doesn't really mean anything when it comes to an actual legal case. And Blair could definitely win this case. And that would mean that the video would not only never come out, but it would also put Oz Media in a terrible position in terms of finances. Overall, this is genuinely one of the most vindictive and manipulative things that I've ever witnessed on my time speaking about internet topics, and I genuinely cannot believe that a commentary YouTuber is doing something like this. Because not only is this bad for the position of Oz and the people at Sad Milk, but it's also bad for the people on the website, because we make videos speaking about things, right? Free speech is a very important thing when it comes to YouTube. Of course, there should be freedom of consequences. I absolutely agree with that. But in this case in point, we have gotten somebody who is now suing people for defamation because of what they have said on the internet, despite they have provided evidence, screenshots, and just in general, they have given their own personal opinion and perspective of things, and that perspective was on who Blair was as a human being. And the thing is, the magical thing is, if Blair, you don't like these things, then wow, guess what? You have a commentary channel where you have a career and have built millions from speaking about other people, giving your opinions on their controversies, their situations, and yet you can't do that when it comes to your own controversy? Do you not understand how unbelievably hypocritical that is? Blair is probably the biggest example of a hypocrite that I have ever seen on this website. It is genuinely insane that she is now stopping other people from giving their own opinions when that is her entire job. And the reason I think this now jeopardizes content creators like me and other commentary YouTubers out there, and just in general people that make videos where they give their opinion, is because what if I go and speak about another content creator and they have seen that somebody in my genre silenced people with the legal system? What happens when the person that I'm speaking about isn't in the commentary genre and they see that and they're like, oh, well, if they're doing it, people in their own thing are doing that. Well, why should I not be able to do that? And more and more people get legal threats, silenced. And you know, the thing is I'm lucky enough, I believe, to be able to fight a legal battle. Of course, I probably don't have the money right now, but I imagine if somebody came up against me with a big legal battle, I would probably get the support of the community just like a lot of other content creators would. But a lot of other people out there don't have the voice for that. And I think when you have people like Blair suing other people, that only justifies other content creators' thought process when it comes to suing content creators speaking about them. In short, you have completely messed up not only other people's lives, but now your fellow content creators on this website. It's despicable, and I don't actually think this part has been spoken about enough. Suing people for defamation over YouTube when you're a commentary YouTuber is hilariously ironic, but also despicable. But ladies and gentlemen, I have gotten a little bit ahead of myself. I actually did dive a little bit into the future there, where I mentioned, of course, the defamation lawsuit, which we're just going to put to a side for a second and move over to the other legal battle. Because yes, Blair is currently in two legal battles when it comes to Oz Media. Of course, we've got this defamation battle right here, but we've also got the battle of foreclosing Oz Media's house. And obviously, the main question is how has this this even become a possibility? How could this YouTuber hold such power where they can take away the house of another person that they know? Well, Oz has actually clarified on this on the 16th of September 2023, where they uploaded a video titled Let's Talk, an update on the Illuminaughtii drama. And the video starts off with Oz giving his personal perspective and understanding to why Blair has actually gone down this proceedings of a legal battle, because obviously it doesn't really make any sense in the logical point of view, but there is really no logic here that needs to be made. Blair is just in general a bad person, and I think she is currently just collapsing in on herself, kind of like a dying star. But yeah, let's listen to Oz's perspective on this.
I'm making this because I'm giving an update to both my regular viewers and those who are here for something a bit more specific. To my regular viewers first, I hope this video can help explain where I've been over the last 3 years. For those who are here for the Illuminaughtii drama, I do have some news, and I'm making this video for full transparency, as I believe this is important in a situation like this. First and foremost, I need to make everyone aware, for reasons that I hope this update will make clear. For my safety, I need to put a short and temporary pause on production of my video on Illuminaughtii. The video will still, of course, be produced. I just need to put things on a lower burn and return to regular content for the time being, for many reasons. Some of them being the honest truth that I can't afford to continue at this rate, both fiscally and physically. Illuminaughtii has taken this to a legal front, using the courts because of how poorly things went for her on the internet.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think that this is pretty much bang on. I feel like this is pretty much Blair's last resort. I feel like she did not want to go down this route, but she has no other alternative now. I'm not sympathizing or justifying any of this. Obviously, she shouldn't have done it in the first place, but ultimately, there is no other solution for her personally. Blair's first tactic was apologizing. It failed. So she made a video. It failed. So she sent cease and desists. They failed. She even tried to upload her way through everything and hoped it all would go away because of other dramas happening on the internet and it would paper over everything that she had done. And it's also failed. And you know, my friends, a logical thinker at this point would probably be thinking to themselves, oh, well, if none of this is working, if everybody still hates me, am I the problem? But no, she's not really a logical thinker. This is Creepshow Art 2.0 we're dealing with. 3.0, 4, even Creepshow Art 5.0. This isn't about growing and changing and becoming a better human being in the eyes of the world. No, this is about greed, ego, and power. Blair clearly loves making money. She clearly loves the power that she has, and she absolutely clearly loved being a celebrated content creator. And the fact that she has now lost so much of that, particularly financially given her decline in popularity, I imagine that her ego has taken a monumental hit, and she is now desperate to get back to where she was before, and she will do anything to get to that position again, even if it's going through the courts to get that back. Even if it's to do things that defy logic, she will do anything. It's kind of like when Gollum was trying to get the ring. You know, there was really no reasoning and logic behind it, but Gollum just really wanted that ring, quite like how Blair really wants, I don't know, the YouTube monetization. But it's also baffling because none of it makes sense, especially when you just look at Blair's own YouTube channel and in general what the channel originally stood for. Blair at one point was known for being an anti-MLM channel, which stands for anti-multi-level marketing, i.e. Blair was known for speaking up against shady business practices, which I know is now probably the most ironic thing that you have ever heard in your entire life, but it is what she was known for. It was what she was represented as. And this is the thing that inspired other content creators, which we will actually have to get into later, to do on YouTube, you know? She was a very big and well-known YouTuber. Blair is a content creator that became a millionaire off explaining situations via her words, critiques, and exposés, yet when she has to do the same thing to defend herself, she doesn't. She resorts to a private court case. And I think that is the glorious irony in all of that. The content creator who is known for speaking about accountability and shady practices can't even say sorry to her ex-friends. Instead, what she will do is try to take away their home at Christmas.
There is another factor to all of this, a factor which Illuminaughtii has caused, or as I will be calling her throughout this video, Blair. For full transparency, which will be explored more in my future video, Blair and I dated. We were a couple for a decent chunk of time. This puts me in an ungodly complicated situation of doing everything that I can to try and separate the relationship drama from the public drama, as in the process of dating her, there are a lot of things which I bore witness to. Before anything else, I want to firmly state that this update is being made with the understanding that there is a likelihood that this will end up in a courtroom. I say this because things have been escalating quite a bit behind the scenes, and the stress has certainly been rising. What I can only describe as retaliation from the person who's my ex, former employer, and prior colleague, Blair is in the process of currently foreclosing my home. Because of this stress of Blair taking my home from me, I need to pump the brakes and change directions so I won't be homeless come Christmas. Because that's when Blair set my home to foreclose, right before Christmas. And yes, Blair has the power to set the foreclosure sale. This situation was a fear and hesitation that I had from the beginning, even telling Wonder as far back as April, a day before my thread went up, that I was mortified that if I spoke out against Blair or even dared to cross her, that she would retaliate with taking my home from me. When I did speak out, as many of you are aware, Blair sent me a cease and desist. A cease and desist, by the way, over a Twitter thread which she apologized for not only in her video, but as well as privately. Despite this, I persisted on working on my video, continuing the production of something which started as 20 pages, then slowly grew into the novel that it's become. Throughout this entire process, I had the fear that once I released this video, Blair would drop the hammer on me. I've lived the last 4 months of my life with the looming threat of Blair's retaliation.
Now, firstly, this is obviously absolutely horrific, and I should start this point by saying I wish nothing but the best for Oz Media. Genuinely, I just can't believe that anyone is having to deal with this, especially from somebody like Blair, because as much as we can speak about her hypocrisy when it comes to being a commentary YouTuber, we can also speak about her political hypocrisy. I don't really speak about politics too often on this channel. I'm open with my political views. I do claim to be a leftist, as does, shockingly enough, Blair. Blair is a big old leftist, apparently, because you know what's a very leftist thing? Taking away somebody's home, being a landlord, owning a crypto fund. Real leftists completely exploit people in a worse financial position than she is. What a wonderful leftist. The grift and hypocrisy just continues to get worse and worse. The grift of her political position, the grift of her YouTube channel, all of it is a complete facade, a fugazi, and I'm honestly shocked that people still consume her YouTube videos. How can you consume content from somebody who is blatantly a complete liar? This isn't like somebody has gradually changed their political positions or changed their perspectives or made mistakes in the past. This is things that she was doing and is now still doing in 2023 whilst trying to paint herself as this lovely, leftist, wonderful commentary YouTuber. It's complete bollocks. You are a self-proclaimed left-wing person who claims to support human rights and also speaks about unethical capitalistic practices, yet you engage in all of these things that you personally criticize. But aside from all of that outright disgusting hypocrisy, let's actually move into the question of how is she able? How is the leftist able to take away another person's home? Now, Oz does go on to explain this, but I should just say, this clip is very long, and I'm not going to play every single part of Oz's video. Just go and watch his video after this. But yeah, I have to play the full little bit that he speaks about this in, because the context is important, and I really want you guys to understand everything that is going on here. So yes, this is Oz explaining this, and shocker, spoilers, it makes Blair look even worse.
Now, let's talk about how Blair is even able to foreclose on me. What put her in a position of power beyond a landlord? A mortgagee, which in my eyes is something even worse. As a quick note, Blair's name is not on any of the original documents related to my home. I'm providing all of this information to give full context to the GoFundMe, as I feel it's more than deserved, as honestly, I would feel guilty as hell putting the video on pause shortly after it hit its funding goal, followed by me just continuing to upload regular content without warning. More details will of course follow with the main video, as I do not have time to fully expand on everything. As I briefly stated previously, Blair and I dated. We started when I was 20 and she was 28. And currently, I'm 23. almost 24. In the beginning, Blair walked me into several poor financial decisions. My naivety caused me to believe her reassurances that I could handle all of the financial obligations being dropped onto my shoulders by someone more experienced in life than I was. Why these obligations were placed onto me? At the time, Blair had bad credit, so all of the purchases, loans, everything was being placed in my name. This included the car that she purchased, then revoked from Wonderstruck. I was on the loan as a cosigner only because of my credit at the time. Eventually, though, the financial responsibilities that I incurred would stack up on me, building a mountain of monthly debt that would lead me into several financially tight months, and eventually just breaking. This would lead me to asking Blair, my partner, for financial help for things such as my home, which she was living in. Help from my partner, who at any given time would be making up to 30 times my monthly income. These amounts of assistance would be added to a ledger of debt. And I want to clarify again, Blair wasn't my bank. She wasn't my landlord. She was my partner at this time. This ledger also includes things such as a non-refundable design fee and land deposit on a multi-million-dollar custom home that she threatened to break up with me if I didn't agree to proceed on this with her, as well as other financial expenses that I honestly can't account for, nor even come close to this number when digging through my own finances. This ledger would creep into the range of $180,000, an insurmountable amount where I don't even understand how she got there. That number ballooned higher and higher, the number ever increasing, and I never questioned it out of guilt for needing help. Guilt from her telling everyone, from her friends to my friends, to her employees, to hell, even her Discord staff, about my finances, oftentimes unprompted. Guilt involving the fact that everyone I interacted with on a day-to-day basis looked down on me for her words towards me. My own partner, the person who was supposed to be my other half, was actively putting me in a position where she was chipping away at my mental health. I was afraid to tell anyone what was happening because she had convinced me that I was a parasite.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this goes past YouTube drama at this point, and I'm glad a lot of people in the comment section of this video did point this out. This isn't drama anymore. This has become psychological and financial abuse. This is somebody in a financial position of power. This is somebody who has far more wealth than the other person, and they are taking advantage of that person in terms of finances and exploiting their position. Blair has far more understanding of business, the legal system, and just in general in handling money because she is in a financial position of power. She makes, in my opinion, millions from her YouTube channel, and she has taken that position and used it to exploit so many people around her, and in this case, Oz. And what makes it even worse is when you get a situation where somebody in a financial position of power exploits somebody in a position where they don't have as much money, usually it's like, oh, join in with this, I don't know, crypto coin or this business deal that I'm in, and then they eventually pull the rug and run away with it. But in this case, this is Blair using her friendship and relationship with Oz to financially exploit him. And it's very clear to me that Oz in this situation thought that they were doing what they thought was right and what was best to make the situation between them and Blair better and to make Blair happy. When you're in a relationship with somebody, or even when you have a close friendship with somebody, you a lot of the time want to do what you can to make things better for them. You want to make them happy. And if you're going through a rough patch, you want to do whatever you can to make that rough patch end and things to go back to being happy and nice. And it's clear to me that Oz was in a bit of a vulnerable position, and Blair knew that and took advantage of that, and took advantage of the fact that Oz just wanted to help and make things better. And it's weird because she clearly has a habit of financially taking advantage of people younger than her, people who don't have as much business or financial experience as her. It's not just with Oz, but it's with Wonderstruck, with the car situation and the rental situation. It's no coincidence to me that in pretty much every single time Blair has been spoken about negatively, in the past she has seemingly put herself in a position of power over the people that she holds friendships with or business relationships with. She always has to be on the one that is the top of the pyramid, ironically. It's not a pyramid scheme, I don't think. No, it's definitely not. Please don't. I don't want to go to court. But she's very much put herself at the top of this pyramids. And she clearly thrives on that, in my opinion, and she clearly thrived on that when it came to that with Wonderstruck and also Oz Media. Knowing that she had a position of power over both of them meant that she could get away with so much just by putting the fear into these people, and fear which was absolutely justified based on what is now happening to Oz Media and also is happening to all of his friends from Sad Milk. But yes, now we've gotten the financial situation explained, it's time to actually get into the part of the foreclosure and how the home is going or potentially going to be taken away from them. And ladies and gentlemen, this is definitely the most manipulative part of this entire story. It is just awful.
This led to the end of 2022, where Blair would take advantage of not only my financial strife, but both my legal and financial illiteracy in December of that year. When I was 23 and Blair was nearly 31, Blair, with her lawyer, would create an honestly quite confusing legal document for me to sign where I would agree to pay back her debt. Blair, being the person who signed my checks, knew that I couldn't afford legal representation. Blair also knew that the $2,500 that she was having me pay monthly towards that debt was almost as much as I was making monthly working for her. This would mean that I could barely pay for anything else in my life other than the debt that I owed her. Everything I made working for her was going right back into her pocket. Blair would bring me to her lawyer's office, put me in a room alone with the two of them, with papers in front of me. Papers which I foolishly signed for a myriad of reasons, ranging from Blair expressing that this would mend our relationship, that it was the right thing for me to do, that this would also protect her legally and prevent her from getting into trouble with the IRS. She also would describe to me, and while I can't remember if this exact word was ever used, she essentially explained to me that because she used company funds to assist me, that she had committed embezzlement. And by converting the amount that I owed her into a loan with her company, this would save her skin legally. Now, to most people, that word may not have a lot of meaning, but to me, when I was 11, my mother was incarcerated for this exact crime, a remnant of the 2008 financial crisis. This taught me a very harsh lesson from an early age, but more importantly, Blair was aware of this past of mine. Whether this was used against me, I can't say for certain, but the idea of another person I loved being locked away, but this time for my actions, words cannot describe the guilt that I had. As I briefly stated earlier, Blair used this debt as a promise that this would specifically help mend our relationship, not our friendship, and put us on a better foot. It wouldn't be until a few weeks after signing that document that I would learn that she had already moved on, and had almost everyone in my daily life keep this fact a secret from me. Blair used all of this, promises of reconciliation and other factors, which will soon be further elaborated on, as means to get me to sign a document known as a deed of trust. I wasn't aware of the power that this document held, what it does, what it allowed her to do. Again, I couldn't afford legal representation. She knew this. This document gave her the power to foreclose if I was unable to make a monthly payment of nearly $2,500 for nearly a decade. Blair knew that even with my income working for her, that this wasn't possible. So, it feels as though she knew that I would be destined to fall behind, that this outcome was inevitable.
Now, this is just genuinely heartbreaking. As this story progresses, as it's been going on for like 6 months now, you usually think to yourself, things will calm down, things will change. For example, look at situations in the past with other YouTubers who have been in controversy, Gabby Hanna or anybody else, you know. Things usually calm down and end and they get a little bit better, but in this situation, things just progressively get worse and worse and worse to a territory which I don't think anybody at the beginning of this whole thing with this tweet right here ever expected. How did we go from this to what we are currently witnessing right now? In my personal opinion, Blair fully knew well that Oz would not be able to at one point pay back those fees that he owed, and yet she still manipulated him in the worst possible ways to getting into this position of, if he ever turns on her, she can take away everything, including his home, because technically, yes, he was in debt to Blair. Do I genuinely believe that Blair would attempt to foreclose Oz Media's house if they weren't in this big internet beef? Absolutely not. If Oz was still a friend of Blair, if Oz and Blair still were on good terms, i.e. he wasn't publicly speaking up against her, I don't think that Blair would be doing this. I think that this is a move that comes from spite and her ego being absolutely decimated because of all of the things that have happened in the last 6 months. And those things aren't because of Oz Media or the people at Sad Milk. They are because of you, Blair. They are because of your own personal actions. And when you look at the comments on Oz's video, I think people were just absolutely shocked of the sheer severity of where the situation was going, and a lot of people out there also agreed that this is not drama anymore. This is becoming something truly so much more darker and sinister. But ladies and gentlemen, it's not all doom and gloom, because there was an actual good part to take from this story. After Oz uploaded this video, it seemed that the community was really touched by it and genuinely just wanted to help. And I said earlier, if I ever got in a legal battle, it's not like I'm expecting everybody to give me handouts and help out, but every time there's a situation on YouTube where somebody is clearly in the right, but they can't do anything about it because they're in a bad financial situation or they're being sued for defamation when they shouldn't be, I've always seen, for the most part, the community step up and help. And I think that's one really amazing thing about the YouTube community. And I'm not just saying it to be cliche or to be the nice guy, but I just think it's so nice when you see the community just come together and support people who truly do need it. And it's clear that Oz also was just taken aback by it after making a statement saying that they never expected the level of support and didn't want to rely on support from everybody despite how much they appreciate it. It was very clear that this was a bit of a surprise that they got this amount of support, and honestly I can kind of understand it. For years this person has been pretty much outright bullied by Blair. In my personal opinion, they have been put into this position of where they feel like they're in a corner that they cannot escape from, and I understand why they're shocked by this reaction. I can only imagine how stressed out they must have been. Look at the tweet that I showed you earlier of where they said that they were scared to the point of where there was a physical feeling in their gut. That's how bad this situation got, and they were so scared that they were shocked when the community came out and supported them. It's very clear to me that this situation has probably taken a toll on all of the people in Sad Milk, and that's just devastating. Even like smaller things out, well, not smaller, but even the things of where Oz in November made a tweet saying how nice it was to be able to afford ADHD medication again, and obviously Blair's not mentioned in this tweet, but given how much strain Blair has been putting on Oz's finances, I can only make the assumption that this impacted the ability to buy just simple things like medication which you really do sometimes need to get through a day, just to get through it, you know. I have ADHD, I was on medication, and at one point it was very, very important to me, and I did rely on it quite a bit. I'm not on it anymore, but I have friends who are on it, and it very much helps them and supports them get through the day, allow them to do the things that a normal human brain should do. And when I see a tweet like this, it just makes me sad when you think of the context behind everything here, that they could not afford medication given the financial position that they're in, and then you have to think about what Blair was doing, only making that financial situation even worse. But this just is who Blair is, in my opinion. She wants to control everything, your home, your finances, your life. This is the power that she wants to hold, even the power over your finance. And if you thought this story would get better or there would be some positive spin to it, I mean, there's a few things here and there which we just went through, but ultimately the whole thing gets worse because, as I mentioned earlier, there are 2 lawsuits currently ongoing. The one involving the foreclosure of the house, but also now the lawsuit surrounding defamation, which was made public on December the 12th after Oz tweeted, "Lawyer-approved tweet, I am currently being sued by Blair, also known as iilluminaughtii, as well as a company Pyramid Entertain Group LLC for defamation. This lawsuit was filed 1 week after Blair pushed me into foreclosure proceedings in August, and has been something I've needed to fight behind the scenes alongside the foreclosure. This has been ongoing since late August, early September, so in other words, while I had to fight my home being foreclosed on, I've also had equal stress of this hanging over my head." And in my opinion, this just shows that Blair has no empathy, she has no care for her former friends, she just in general is a nasty piece of work. And once again, this is somebody that claimed to be a leftist, Yes, nothing says leftists like suing people for defamation whilst also trying to take away their home. That's a very leftist thing to do. And it's not like she's suing for defamation over something massive. These people, such as the Click, Oz Media, Wonderstruck, and everybody else in Sad Milk, all of their videos and statements have just been them pretty much giving their opinion. Yes, a lot of them have provided receipts and stuff like that, but you kind of need to when it involves any situation on the internet, and if anybody was to know that, it would be the commentary YouTuber iilluminaughtii, who literally, as I said earlier, built their career on doing that exact same thing. iilluminaughtii, imagine if you were sued for every single video that you made for giving your opinion. But absolute insane levels of hypocrisy aside here, we need to go back to the response video that Blair made earlier this year, because obviously this video, it's just absolutely awful, but the main awful part of it comes at the ending of this video, because there is a segment where she obviously speaks about Oz Media, and this thing right here is genuinely, now, given all of the context that we've seen, given the context of she has been absolutely trying to ruin Oz Media's life, it makes what Blair says and does in this clip just honestly creepy.
This final section and this final person will be the hardest for me to address, so I plan on keeping this brief. Oz, you were right. I am afraid of looking stupid and weak online, and yet I am those things right now. You've been with me through a lot of really intense and personal situations in my life. You were there throughout the entire process of my mom's cancer diagnosis, her various treatments, and hospitalizations. And I know there were many times when I had to run out the door suddenly because there was a crash cart in her room and they didn't know if she was going to make it. And you said you'd stay at the house and watch Casper so I could go to my mom. You were there for Casper's various hospitalizations when he would get sick throughout the years, and you helped me through a very difficult surgery recovery. I just want to say thank you for always being my support through all of my ups and downs. I know that a lot of these personal situations in my life left me very thin and sometimes irritable, and I want to say thank you for supporting me through it and talking me through some really hard times. Your support and your friendship meant more to me than I think you'll probably ever know. I'm gonna miss all the fun things we used to do, eating way too much cheese at the melting pot. I'll miss you teaching me how to play Command and Conquer and playing it, and how you've always obviously been Casper's BFF, and you know how Casper is not afraid of Oswaldo. We're both gonna miss you a lot. The truth is, like we've privately discussed before, I always hoped that we'd be able to reconnect again in the future and mend our friendship. I meant that when I said it to you, and I believed you when you said it back. Even after everything that's happened, you were the one person that I always thought we could just get it and pick back up where we left. And unfortunately, I think that ship has sailed. Oz, I miss the friend you were to me.
And that's why I'm foreclosing your house and suing you for defamation. Listen to what she's speaking about here, given the context of everything. She's speaking about mending their friendship or relationship. Excuse me. What? That's exactly what Oz spoke about in their video. They said that Blair would use that sort of language to manipulate him into doing financially poor decisions that put him in vulnerable positions.
From Blair expressing that this would mend our relationship?
Mending the friendship, and then later on having your house taken away for Christmas. She loves to use these words to make herself sound like an actual human being, to sound like somebody that has empathy and is a good human being. But we now know that this was complete crocodile tears. She was crying in that clip. Do you not understand how insanely weird and creepy that is, given everything that we now know? She didn't care about Oz. She went to the point of actually acting, where she teared up over a microphone. Tears were going onto her shirt SM7B as she was laughing her way into the courtrooms to ruin this person's life. And the one thing that I keep on thinking back to is the comparison to creepshow art. Obviously, at one point of time, creepshow art was seen as the worst part of the commentary community. Somebody who is an example of everything a commentary YouTuber shouldn't be. But somehow, Blair has taken that title and I think is absolutely challenging challenging it. I think Blair may have actually taken the throne here. But my friends, it's not all negativity. There are some things that have happened recently which, I mean, you could say it's positive, but at the end of the day, it still all stems from a disgusting and negative situation. But basically, recently, Oz made a tweet saying, "I am officially out of foreclosure proceedings with Blair and her company. This doesn't mean things are over, but it's one step closer to having my life back. Thank you for everyone who's supported me so far, whether through donations, kind words, being for my streams, and all the little things that have been done. Thank you." Now, this is a lovely thing. It's great, as I said earlier, to see the community just stepping up and actually helping somebody out who truly did need the help. Based on my experiences of Oz, based on what I've seen, Oz seems like a genuinely good person, and it's just so sad to see that all of the people at Sad Milk, all of the ex-employees, all of the ex-friends of Blair have had to deal with all of this. It's just truly awful. But the one thing I can't help but kind of get past here is, if this is how she would treat her friends, how would she treat somebody who isn't her friend? And ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to get into that. Now, my friends, so far in the video, we've spoken about a lot of topics, and most of these topics seem to relate between iilluminaughtii and people that she was previously friends with. And of course, friends is it's a very big word in this situation. I wouldn't say that Blair was necessarily a friend to any of these individuals. She more just tried to control them until she couldn't, and when she couldn't control them anymore, she tried to ruin all of their lives. But yes, we've done all that, and in the previous two videos we've spoken about a lot of that as well, and as have a lot of other videos out there. But there is one thing which we haven't really spoken too much about, and that is how Blair treats people who she's not friends with. And that's when we need to introduce the YouTuber Cruel World Happy Mind, also known as Madison. And Madison is another commentary-based YouTuber and speaks about a lot of the things that I personally speak about, and they do it very regularly, and they do an absolutely fantastic job of it. And I feel like if you were to see a channel like Madison now, you would just think, well, that's a commentary YouTuber speaking about commentary topics. But previously, at one point of time, Madison was something known as an anti-MLM YouTube channel. And what does anti-MLM mean? Anti-multi-level marketing, which pretty much is an online community of people that speak up regularly against a lot of shady internet practices. Madison basically started her YouTube channel speaking about MLMs, going through a lot of shady businesses out there, and letting the internet know why these businesses are bad and what they are doing to exploit people out there in the world. And the catch here is of course, iilluminaughtii at one point of time was also known as an anti-MLM channel. They both resided in the same community, but the other catch is, when Blair was doing this, she had around 700,000 subscribers, and when Madison was doing this, she had around 20,000 subscribers. And as somebody in the big old Millie Club, I don't claim to be a part of any of those scumbag. That's a joke. That's a really bad joke. But yeah, they were both anti-MLM channels. And therefore, because they were making the same genre of videos, of course their content seemed a little bit similar. And ladies and gentlemen, that word can be considered quite ironic given everything that we're now about to go into. Because in July of this year, Madison uploaded a video titled "The Fall of iilluminaughtii, YouTube's Biggest Bully." And in this video, she speaks about all of the horrible things Blair has done in a chronological timeline, but also a noticeable large chunk of this video is her own personal experience with Blair. And funnily enough, this is where everything in this whole story goes back to the whole topic of plagiarism, which of course was the main thing that actually started the snowball effect in the iilluminaughtii saga. Blair called somebody out for plagiarism, she was then exposed for plagiarism herself and being a complete utter hypocrite, and ladies and gentlemen, this situation is very similar to that. Because in this video, Madison speaks about a very specific situation where she at one point of time uploaded a video speaking about Tyra Banks and all of the shady business practices that Tyra was involved in, and then strangely enough, very soon after that video, Blair herself uploaded a video speaking about the exact same topic. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is nothing criminal. A YouTuber covering the same topic as another YouTuber, that's a perfectly normal thing to do, especially when you're making videos in the anti-MLM community or the commentary community. It happens quite a lot, and even myself, I sometimes will see another content creator upload a video, it piques my interest, and I think to myself, you know what, I'm gonna make a video about that same thing. But of course, there is a little bit of a catch there. I can't go and watch, I don't know, Moist Critical's video and suddenly think, oh yeah, I'm going to take every single point that Critical just said in his video and use that in my video. Of course, that would start to come under, you know, the mysterious word of plagiarism. For example, two content creators that I really like, Vangelina Scove and Tamimi, both uploaded multiple videos speaking about the Illuminaughtii situation, and I watched these videos and enjoyed them, and it prompted me into making this video right now. You see, I know I come off as very chronically online, I seem like an absolutely insane person, but ladies and gentlemen, that's not because of the internet. I'm just insane. But what I'm trying to say here is I'm not really on my socials that much. I'm not scrolling through Twitter constantly and seeing what's going on in the YouTube community, and I kind of rely on videos from my peers to kind of keep me up to date with everything going on, or even just people sending me DMs and comments being like, cover this and cover that. So I watched these two videos from Tamimi and Vangelina, and I got interested in the topic again and decided that I'm going to go and do my own research into this whole thing and do my own video. And as long as I'm not copying the points made in both of their videos, and as long as I'm not saying the same things and repeating the rhetoric that they say in their videos, I personally think that's fine. I think if anyone says it isn't, well, then I can just say, well, if you see somebody speaking about something and you give your opinion on that same thing, you're plagiarizing. Obviously, it's an absolutely balmy argument. We all have the right to speak about something that we've got interest in, but this isn't what happened with these two videos. You see, the moment Blair uploaded that video very similar to Madison's, she started to get comments stating, hey, I feel like this content creator has stolen basically everything that you said in your video and put it into their own. And that content creator, of course, was iilluminaughtii. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, Blair had around 700,000 subscribers at this point, and Madison had 20,000. And I wasn't just saying that to be an arsehole and say I've got 1 million myself, because I do, by the way, but what we have here, if these allegations are true, if iilluminaughtii has stolen the content from another YouTuber and put it into their own video without any form of credits, what we have here is yet again another situation where Blair has taken advantage of a position of power by, in this case, stealing somebody's video, stealing the point, stealing the topic, and just in general taking everything and using it and displaying it as her own, which she has financially gained from and also socially gained from. And I understand a few people will immediately say, well, how does the whole position of power thing come into play here? Of course, yes, she may have stolen a piece of content and used it her own without crediting it, and that would be plagiarism, but where is the position of power being abused here? Well, of course, as I said, the subscriber count is very, very important here. Now, I'm going to give you my own personal example. In 2018, I uploaded a YouTube video, and I'm not going to make any names here or any allegations, but I uploaded a YouTube video, and in that video, I was speaking about a very specific topic, as I'm doing right now. I made very specific points, I had a script, I did all the research, uploaded the YouTube video, and that was wonderful. But then a few days later, another YouTuber in the same sphere as me made the exact same video with a pretty familiar title, and I thought, you know what, fair enough, good, you know, it only benefits me. People speaking about this topic means more eyes are going to be watching it, and this content creator at that point of time had around 400,000 subscribers, and I had around, I believe, 30,000 subscribers. So I sat there watching their video, and I started to notice, wow, a lot of their points are very similar to my points, and it started to get a bit weird because basically they made more and more points, and the points only seemed to be basically everything that I had said, and not just like familiar points. They were word for word saying the things that I said, and I started to feel very uncomfortable. Now, I didn't ever confront this creator. I didn't say anything publicly, but when you see the comparisons, and again, I'm not going to show the comparisons because I don't want to get into drama, but when you see what's going on there, you can clearly see that my content was plagiarized. And then I spoke to a few people behind closed doors about this, and it turned out that other content creators had a very similar experience with this. But the reason you can't say these things is because, of course, you don't necessarily have evidence. There is obviously the argument of pure coincidence, because that creator, they didn't credit me, they didn't say thank you for inspiring me to make this video, but when you see the comparison, it became so plainly obvious. At that point of time, there weren't many people speaking about the topic that I spoke about, and I started to get the most viewed video about it, and then, of course, the bigger content creator comes in and, in my opinion, steals all of my points, which is plagiarism. But I didn't say anything, because of course I didn't have the word-for-word factual evidence to back my point. I knew what I saw, it was very obvious, but it was scary to even think of the idea of speaking against a much larger content creator. And in my opinion, going back to the Madison Illuminaughtii situation, I think right there is pretty much the exact same thing. Madison must have been terrified to even say something about Blair, because Blair was a massive YouTuber at that point of time, and I think Madison didn't see coincidence in the fact that this person had made a very similar video about a topic that not many people were making videos about at the same point of time, and in that video they used very, very similar points and talking pieces. But ladies and gentlemen, there is actually a little bit of a twist here, because right now I'm kind of speaking about this event like Madison saw this, got these comments about people saying, oh, this person's copied you, they've plagiarized you, and I'm acting like Madison immediately came out and exposed Blair for this, being like, they're copying me, this and this and this is why, and this is the proof, it's way too coincidental. But no, Madison didn't do that. Instead, Madison did something very mature and actually just sent an honest-to-God message to Blair.
Notice that Illuminaughtii because they weren't sure if they spelled her name right, uploaded a similar video today or a couple days ago, and I haven't watched it but glanced over their sources and it's oddly similar to your content.
Tyra Banks and the MLM she was involved in. At the time that people were messaging me this, there were no sources on this person's video. The only thing it had in the description was in parentheses, sources coming soon.
Not sure if it's just a coincidence, but don't want your hard work to be copied and exposed to a wider audience to get more views and revenue. Sorry if this comes across as abrasive or not well researched on my part, just something I noticed. I was like, Tyra Beauty, Goop, etc. Sounds familiar, and similar order of content too. The fact that multiple people were kind of like, hey, we're noticing this thing. I hadn't even been the one to initially notice it since I was getting messages to the point where other people were noticing this. I thought it would be the right thing to do to privately message this creator.
I send this larger creator a message. At the time of sending that message, since I was like just a really small creator, I was like, I don't know how to handle this. I felt super awkward. So I was just like, hey, yeah, I'm getting a lot of messages about this, but like, let's talk.
I sent Blair a message saying, hey hun, sorry I had to. It's an inside joke for anti-MLMers. So I thought that would be like a funny opener. I don't know if you know of my channel. I'm a really small YouTuber who's been inspired by the content you make. I got a few messages about the video you posted about Tyra's MLM because I've done a video on that topic. I'm really happy you're spreading more awareness on this topic, but it did low-key feel like a lot of what was said in the beginning of the video was really similar to the things I discussed regarding Tyra's MLM and her controversies, the rabies bit, etc. Coincidences happen, and I'm sure as a larger YouTuber, you're accused of stealing content from people you've never even heard of or seen before. So I get it if this message comes across that way. With the intention of just being open and honest, I was really hurt by the video though, because you're someone who has really inspired me and the content I make. So I wanted to reach out and hopefully have an honest but positive discussion on it all. Either way, I still appreciate the work you do.
Now, my friends, this is honestly probably one of the most mature things that I've seen a content creator do. If somebody nowadays in 2023 even dared to steal some of my points and it was so plainly obvious to me what they were doing, I would probably lose my absolute nut. I would probably go off on them. I would be angry. I'd be like, who do you think you are, you sick bastard? But Madison, I don't even think she's really accusing Blair of plagiarism here. I think she's just being like, yeah, this was a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird because, you know, nobody else was making videos about this really, and you kind of did one a few later and the points are very similar. It's a little bit weird.
And you know, to be fully fair to Blair, looking back, she has an entire team. So I also do think, looking back, it could have been that someone on her team saw my video, or she was receiving just a lot of comments asking to do a video on that topic, and they just happened to stumble across similar research.
That's not really an accusation. That's just more, hey, I was getting comments and I am a little bit honestly concerned about this. And I think that's a very mature thing. And again, take into context of something that we were taking into context in the previous chapter of this video. Blair is a commentary YouTube channel. Her job, the job she gets paid millions for, is criticizing people on a daily basis. Her channel is basically a content farm now. There's no passion in it. The content is pretty garbage. But, you know, the whole point of it is to criticize shady business practices and other influencers and celebrities and famous people. But when it comes to receiving even the slightest, most minuscule piece of criticism, of course, Blair could not handle that. But ladies and gentlemen, I guess the question is now, seeing as Blair has received this big, honest, you know, fair DM, how did she respond? Did she respond in a fair, wonderful, nice way? Because, you know, she is the commentary YouTuber whose job is giving criticism. Did the critique take slight criticism well? I hope the camera's in focus right now, because no, she didn't. No, instead of actually replying to the DM like a normal, mature person about somebody's honest-to-God concerns, she instead, according to Madison, made multiple subtweets which have now been deleted from the internet, apparently even some Instagram stories, but which really isn't much of a shock, to be honest with you, because Blair herself has self-admitted to making subtweets in the past. And look, ladies and gentlemen, I understand at this point of time, this is all a lot of he said, she said. Of course, I do believe Madison and the claims that she is making. I think it is far too coincidental for Blair to have mysteriously made this same video about something which wasn't necessarily trending back in the time of where they released these videos. But of course, this isn't really the worst of the worst so far. Yes, it's annoying and disrespectful, but ultimately, this could just all be one big coincidence until Blair herself went on a podcast and actually spoke about Madison, which of course is peak maturity from a YouTuber with 700,000 subscribers.
On this podcast, she's claiming that I was like angrily claiming that she copied me and my content, and I asked her for credit.
So she messages me and she goes, "I'm just really disappointed because you're someone I look up to and you copied my video and I want credit."
Which, if you remember from my original DM, in that DM, I never once asked for credit. I never said, I want credit, give me credit. Never in that tone did I ever say that. So she literally spread a blatant lie about me on this podcast for no reason. She said I was a really small YouTuber, very much talking down to me in a demeaning way.
I'm gonna try and keep it vague so I don't mention this person's channel, but it's a very small YouTuber.
Which just goes to show how she views small YouTubers in general. She claimed that I wanted to follow and mimic her content style, which was not true at all. I had no intentions of becoming a corporate content mill.
She even admitted, well, kind of, that she was restructuring her channel to kind of mock my own channel.
I'm good on that one. And so I'm listening to this and freaking out because now all of a sudden I was wondering if she was going within the YouTube community, telling people who I was to all of these larger YouTubers. So there were all these rumors about me and no one would ever want to associate with me, making me out to be this honestly terrible sounding person, which was just so humiliating.
Now, my friends, I can relate to what Madison is saying here. Personally, I've had YouTubers in the past go around saying specific things about me, nothing necessarily terrible, but I've had an experience in the past of where I've spoken to another content creator and they've said to me, wow, you're way nicer than I thought you were given what I've heard from X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, yeah, I guess, but that's the reality of this industry. There are a lot of toxic people that are willing to say the worst of the worst about you if it means they can jump over you in like the pecking order or however you want to describe it in this weird YouTube Game of Thrones. It's what happens and it's a very depressing thing, and I really would not be shocked if this exact same thing happened with Madison and iilluminaughtii, given everything that we have seen, given what she said about her own friends. I mean, she cried cried in a YouTube video saying how much she basically used to love her friendship with this person, and then she tried to take his house away only a few months later. This is not an authentic person. This is a person that loves to be in a position of power, and they will do anything they can, no matter how cruel or manipulative or vindictive, they will do what they can to maintain that power and make sure the people who are trying to climb up the pecking order stay down below her. And I think with Madison, that's kind of what we've got going on here. Going on this podcast and saying the things that Blair was saying is just so incredibly unneeded in my personal opinion, because just think about this for a second. She could have just stayed quiet, she could have just happily ignored the DM, but she couldn't take that. She couldn't take the criticism that nobody was seeing, and instead she had to go and speak about this publicly. And again, you can make the argument of, oh, this wasn't about Madison, but how many times are we going to make the whole argument of coincidence here? Is it a coincidence that their videos pretty much start off in the first chapters speaking about the exact same thing?
And well, let's get into the video. The company Tyra Beauty was, of course, flawlessly launched.
Rihanna started Fenty Beauty, Kylie Jenner started Kylie Cosmetics, Tyra started Tyra Beauty.
Okay, I just had to talk about this. In this video and also online, Tyra talks about her Harvard Business School graduation. But this is not the Master's in Business Administration degree that Tyra received. In fact, she only attended a course called the Owner President Management Extension Program. That's not part of the school's master's degree. And you only get a certificate of completion after the course. So it's a little bit misleading to call yourself a Harvard Business School graduate.
Apparently, her celebrity status and knowledge about the beauty world wasn't enough for Tyra. She wanted to seem even more qualified, so she claimed she went to Harvard Business School, and hey, that's awesome, right? Well, she didn't. In 2012, Banks told anyone and everyone that she graduated from Harvard Business School, posing for pictures with her supposed diploma. But as Jezebel, another news source, reported, she was in fact graduated from the Owner President Management Program at Harvard, a non-degree granting certificate course at Harvard. Banks was not a Harvard student, but a person taking classes at Harvard's campus. But you can see how that got confused in shorthand. Tyra just wanted that clout, to be able to throw around the word Harvard to sound more capable than she actually is.
Now, to me, ladies and gentlemen, this seems very, very similar to the things that Madison was speaking about in her video. And again, it's a little bit coincidental that this video is the exact same length. I know, not the exact, but come on, they are very similar lengths. And of course, is this a coincidence as well? Is everything here a coincidence? The fact she is coincidentally describing what Madison herself was describing in her message? Is this all fake? Is it a coincidence that other people out there noticed that the videos were very similar? Because personally, I just don't think it is. And even then, if you want to continue with the argument that Blair isn't directly mentioning her name there, so you're never going to know if it's factually her or not, that could be considered true. But ultimately, Blair is still on this podcast spreading rumors about another content creator. And I don't care what anybody says, she definitely told these other two people who host the podcast who she is talking about. This is what happens on these shows. You won't word for word say who you're describing because you know you don't want to get in big internet public beef, so instead you will just subtly speak about them without revealing a name. It's a very smart tactic because it allows you to get this information out there about a content creator, but it also backs what Madison was saying about rumors being spread about her, because yes, she is spreading the rumors about somebody on this podcast, and these two individuals who are also hosting the podcast definitely know behind closed doors, in my opinion, that she, i.e. Blair, was speaking about Madison. And the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, with the comparison that I showed you previously, I don't actually think that directly means that Blair deliberately plagiarized Madison's video. I think it could be what Madison described it as earlier, as Blair does have an entire team of researchers, and it wouldn't be much of a shocker if a researcher found Madison's video and thought, this is a great idea, I'm gonna prompt this to Blair, and they decided to then make a video on it, which is fine, but she could have just simply responded to Madison's DM explaining this, but of course she did not do that, and she went on to this podcast and said all of these things. But ladies and gentlemen, putting plagiarism aside here, there's another thing that I noticed on this podcast, which isn't necessarily that shocking given everything that we've spoken about today, but basically, Blair is also a complete and utter hypocrite on this podcast. You see, there's a big point that she makes when speaking about the mysterious figure who coincidentally isn't Madison despite it all lines up with Madison's story. The thing that she says in her main point about Madison, well, not Madison, potentially Madison, is that Madison uses sources in her video and she quotes those sources, and that therefore is a bad thing. Now, I'm going to make a point in a second, but let me just play this clip for you. Let me just play this one little clip and explain to you shortly after why this is a stupid point.
She then talked down about my research, saying my research is just TMZ and Wikipedia.
But she had like 5 sources. You know, one was Wikipedia, one was BuzzFeed, one was like TMZ or something.
In certain instances, I will source TMZ and Wikipedia.
Absolute most offensive thing that was said on this podcast was that the research that I do for my videos is just Wikipedia, BuzzFeed, and TMZ. After hearing this, I was so confused that I looked through every single video that I've done to be like, okay, first off, have I ever used TMZ as a source?
Also, Blair uses Wikipedia constantly. You see how she takes an insecurity of hers and throws it back in someone's face. Blair also said that I just drink my coffee and talk about my opinion in my videos.
And then she sits down for a video, drinks a coffee, is distracted the whole time, and just gives her opinion on how she feels about things.
I'm going to put this lightly. This criticism is complete and utter garbage. Firstly, she's like, oh yeah, her videos are bad because she sources news sites and puts that in her video, and I guess that's all she does. But then she's also like, oh yeah, and then she just sits there and gives her opinion. It's like, well, isn't that what you do? You take a source and you give your opinion on the source of information. That's called, what's that thing? Oh, it's called commentary. That's what it's called. You're commentating on a piece of information that you sourced from a news site. And you know, the mysterious thing is Blair, you, of all people, talking about this in a negative light, like that isn't your entire YouTube channel. I was just going through some of Blair's videos, and when you just click at any timestamp for any of Blair's recent videos, you can see that she does basically the exact same thing. She'll source a news site, a study, anything. The majority of Blair's videos are just screenshots from other news articles where she is reading the quotes. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but to go onto a podcast and criticize a mysteriously could possibly not be content creator who may have a smaller sub count than you, to do that, I think it's just utterly, not just baffling, but unbelievably hypocritical. But again, this is unbelievably pointless. There is no need to do this. There was no need to say these things. But even if we're going to ignore the fact that, okay, maybe some plagiarism has happened, if we're going to push that aside, just this point alone is stupid. Even if this isn't about Madison, it's just stupid. Blair, your entire channel is everything that you're describing in that clip. But yes, getting back on track, I don't really care what anybody says. I personally believe Madison. I think that this was 100% from the podcast about Madison. I definitely think that even if she didn't word for word steal content from Madison, I at least think that she was inspired by the content and maybe took parts of it for herself. And I think that Madison's DM was a very mature and genuine DM where she doesn't outright accuse Blair of plagiarism. And in fact, to this day, I don't believe that Madison has outright said, oh yes, she stole my video. It seems the main issue Madison has was how she was treated in this scenario. Blair, as I've said, could have just responded, but instead she allegedly made subtweets, which have now of course been deleted, and she went on this podcast. I think it's an incredibly immature thing to do, and I would not be shocked if there are content creators out there that did get a negative opinion on Madison because of the things that were obviously being said behind closed doors. As somebody that has experienced these things, it's a horrible thing. And you could say, well, Blair is now seen as a bad person in the eyes of the public, so maybe those people have changed their minds. Well, sadly not. I've had, as I said, people say bad things about me, and these people have gone on to be exposed as not the best of people, and people still hold certain beliefs about me behind closed doors, and it's horrible. It's not nice, and it's just a negative impact that I've dealt with over the last few years, and plenty of other smaller content creators have dealt with themselves. But putting the Fraser pity party aside for a second here, there's something that makes Madison's story so much more worse than my own personal experiences with other dickheads in the past, because Madison during all of this was actually pregnant. And of course, pregnancy is a very stressful thing, regardless of if it's an easy pregnancy. No pregnancy is easy, but without any complications. But Madison's pregnancy was a very stressful thing, and I'm just going to allow Madison to speak about it herself from her own YouTube video. And again, I should just say, please go watch Madison's video after this. I'm using a lot of the clips from it, but it's an excellent video, and I highly recommend you go subscribe to Madison. Her link to the channel will be in the description. But yes, listen to this, because it makes the whole thing so much worse.
A few months go by, and I end up getting pregnant. Now, if you don't know about pregnancy, there's a few different versions. There's some people who get pregnant and they have great pregnancies where they are not sick and they are very healthy and they're doing great. For me, I was in the sickest state I have ever been in my entire life, especially early in my pregnancy. I had to go to the ER because I was losing fluids. I had to stay on bed rest because I was extremely sick.
In the first few weeks of January, being so sick that I can't even get up out of bed, that I can barely even move.
And I was so scared during early pregnancy, which is called the first trimester. It's a really fragile state of pregnancy. You want to limit stress as much as possible, and you want to rest as much as possible. So I was terrified of losing my baby at that point. And so I was trying so hard to limit my stress and stay as healthy as possible, because I was already really, really sick. And so the doctors were just urging me to stay healthy and limit my stress. And then all of a sudden, I end up in one of the most stressful dramas I have ever experienced, where someone is trying to ruin my career and attack me online. And it feels like they have so much more power than I have that there is nothing I can do about it. And I'm also completely debilitated and terrified that any more stress than usual will completely send me over the edge. It was one of the most terrifying and stressful times in my life, and I think it really traumatized me at that time more than I realized, because I really shifted into this point of just pure survival, where I was just trying to survive past that point and make it through the drama and make it through that point in my pregnancy and just get through it all and just make it stop. Blair put me through all of this. You knew I was pregnant, and you still attacked me online. You said mean and hurtful things about me. You did not care if your followers attacked me, what stress that would cause me. Never really apologized to me publicly. Just said we were both stupid.
Now, my friend Ari notes. I don't know why I said that. Ignore that. My friends. Now, obviously, I've lost my train of thought here. My friends, obviously, everything so far has been pretty messed up. Of course, this all stemmed from Madison was just a little bit concerned, and maybe those concerns could have been put to rest. And of course, that's expanded into something else. And maybe this could have all been dealt with in private, but obviously, it hasn't. And it's become a bit of a messed up scenario where Madison is being put under loads of stress. But that's obviously amplified by all of that clip, by the fact that she was going through this stressful time. Blair knew this, and she still proceeded with her actions. And again, I said previously, if Blair was going to treat people badly in private, her own friends, how would she treat other individuals that she doesn't even know? And this is a fine example of that. She doesn't care about anybody, her peers, her co-workers, her employees. She only cares about herself, despite this is a person that has built her whole career on being this moral beacon of hope. Madison was pregnant and having to deal with the fact that she is now worried that other content creators and people in the industry are now going to be thinking that she is something that she's actually not because of this incredibly immature content creator with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. This person in a significant position of power was going around doing these things allegedly, and she could not do anything about it. Now, of course, you could just say again, this could all be coincidence, but I really don't think it is. Blair has a history of going in servers, in DMs with other content creators and other people out there and saying bad things about her own friends. So again, what would she say about people that she doesn't even have any form of slight loyalty towards? But despite all of this, ladies and gentlemen, despite the podcast, despite everything, Madison once again was the mature person in this situation, and she, rather than making a public statement, DM'd Blair once more, basically saying that there's no beef and she just in general wants to sort out this situation. And this DM right here is definitely way too nice in my personal opinion. As I said earlier, if this was me in the situation, I would have lost my head. But obviously, Madison was dealing with things outside of just YouTube at this point of time. She was very stressed out. And I think if you're in that point of stress, you know, you do just want an easy resolution. You want to just make sure things are fine. And anyone that's stressed out usually just can't be bothered for an argument. And I think Madison saw what was going on here and probably just wanted it to be over and done with. But Blair, once again, did not respond to this lovely, mature message. Again, it was ignored. So at that point, I feel like Madison was done. I think she was tired of what was going on here, and she decided to finally make a public statement about the situation in a YouTube video. And of course, this is where the penny dropped. This is where the first actual response directly to Madison came from. Because Blair saw this and went on a rampage. Because you can criticize her privately when nobody else sees this, but the moment it goes public, Blair then wanted to speak about it. She went on a Twitter rampage. Now, most of these tweets were deleted, but this tweet right here is still available, where it says that she is going to go on a debunking stream to debunk the claims Madison made in her video. And ladies and gentlemen, there are two case in point pieces of irony here. Irony number one being, you could have just debunked these claims in the DM sent to you months ago, but instead you went on podcasts speaking about a mysterious entity which coincidentally is definitely not Madison. But then irony number two is she then after this goes and complains to Madison that Madison made this a public issue and that she now doesn't know what to speak about this to with Madison in private. She says that they can't speak about it now because Madison was the one that made it public, despite Blair didn't respond to the private conversation that Madison started. Look, I'm just going to read you the DM that Blair sent to Madison, okay? It's mind-blowing. So, I'm going to be defending my statements against your claims publicly. There was no identifying characteristics that it was you. You are the one who decided to say, that was me, when nothing said it was about you. Is there any statements you would like to provide before I proceed? I'm not 100% to what to even talk out with you, since you've decided to make this a public issue. What? Let's just finish at the end. Is there some common ground we can even find in this? Now, ladies and gentlemen, firstly, the reason that it was made public, Blair, and you know this, I know this, and everybody else knows this, is because you refused to reply to the private DMs and you went on a podcast and spoke about a mysterious entity to other content creators. Now, of course, you didn't name somebody, but Madison was feeling like people were going around saying things about her, and I can attest to that. I can completely confirm that if you go on a podcast speaking about an unnamed content creator chatting about them, you are definitely going to tell the podcast hosts either before or after who you're talking about. And if you're going to say that to a random podcast host, you're probably going to say it to content creators that you're close with. So yes, obviously, this is all a lot of he said, she said, but how many coincidences can just be a mere coincidence? But also, you just didn't need to do what you were doing on this podcast, but you did. You did that, and you didn't respond to the DM. You are the reason that this went public. This was your fault. But let's also bring up the phrase common ground. She was asking, is there any common ground that we can come to with this? Despite saying she doesn't know what there is to actually talk about with her because she made it public. Now, what this translates to, in my personal opinion, is a threat. I see this as a threat. I think this is basically her saying, take your video down and I won't make my video. That's what I see this as. I know how content creators work, and the common ground here is remove your criticism. There is no way that she would say something like this after saying there is nothing to talk about if that was what she wasn't implying. Again, in my personal opinion, because Blair loves to sue people, and I should just say, everything here is of course coincidence and my personal and other people's personal opinions. Now, I'm not going to play any more of Madison, i.e. Cruel World Happy Minds videos, and I 100% do recommend you go and watch that video. It will be linked in the description, as I said earlier, but I do think this situation really represents Blair well, because so far, we've seen a lot of serious things, a lot of horrible things, and whilst this isn't the worst of the worst situation, of course, I'm not taking away from Madison's pain that she would have received in this situation, but in comparison to a lot of other things, it isn't the worst moment. This would usually be considered drama. Yeah, it's a lot of he said, she said, but ultimately, even in like the most basic form of drama, Blair was still unbelievably rude, narcissistic, and just in general cruel. These DMs here just read so badly to me. It really does just come off as somebody imposing their figure against someone smaller than them. I'm going to make a video responding. Is there any common ground that we can come to? And the only reason that she even got a response from Blair was because she finally said something publicly. And notice with Blair, this is the same in every single scenario. Blair will only respond to criticism when people are saying it publicly. When it comes to private issues, from everything that we've seen in the past, Blair is happy to cut people off, pretend it doesn't happen, pretend it didn't exist before that, and just move on with her life. I think the only reason she's now suing other content creators is because her ego was damaged. I feel like the only reason that she sent this DM to Madison was because her ego was damaged. I feel like the only reason that she made that video where she fake cried in was because her ego was damaged. No matter how serious the situation, no matter how slightly less serious the situation is, her ego, if it is damaged, will cause her to lash out. And that's what somebody does when they're on a power trip. And iilluminaughtii has been caught doing that now multiple times. But ladies and gentlemen, the situation and story does not end there, because in these last 6 months, it has been a massive mess of things happening pretty much every single week with Blair. And in the next chapter, we're kind of going to go through a lot of the smaller things in a bit of a quick fire, including an expose of Blair's Discord, which once again proves that Blair loves to go around spreading rumors about other content creators and other ex-friends, which of course only backs everything that Madison had to say. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there are 3 things in this world that I absolutely despise, and number 1 being the fact that meal deals in this country of Great Britain are no longer £3. The £3 meal deal was a part of our culture, and it has been stripped away from us by the Conservative government and the lack of control of inflation and how supermarkets price their foods. We're living in a cost of living crisis, and the meal deal is a prime example of that. Sorry, just had to get that off my chest. It's devastating to me that I can't buy my little sandwich crisp and drink combination for £3 anymore. But also, number 2, the thing that I despise the most is Discord. Discord is a horrible app full of just absolute degenerates. It's the worst place on planet Earth, and you know, we've all got a Discord account at the end of the day, and you're never going to say it to your friends in real life. You're never going to go to the pub and be like, oh, what were you up to earlier? I was in a Discord server, cool thing. Nobody says that. Nobody wants to say that anyway, and if you do say that, well, I'm sorry. But if there's anybody that's been using Discord way too much recently, it's of course iilluminaughtii. Because Blair, basically, I feel like now, is just spending her day-to-day on Discord, where she is only getting herself in more and more trouble. You see, commentary YouTuber FBS Diesel uploaded a video a few months ago leaking iilluminaughtie's Discord server, and in this video, FBS Diesel paid $30 to join Blair's Patreon, where he gained access to her private Patreon Discord server. And a lot of the content that was exposed in this Discord seemingly just backs everything that I've gone through today. It shows Blair to be a hypocrite, it shows her to be a bad person, and just in general, it shows her to be somebody that does not care about anybody other than herself. I'm not going to show the screenshots to you now because I don't want to get, I don't know, sued for copyright or have this video copyright struck by Blair. We've seen the tactics that she will take to limit criticism against her, so if you want to go and see the screenshots, please go look at them yourself. But pretty much a lot of the screenshots that Diesel found from the Discord involved Oz Media, and pretty much Blair was saying nasty things about Oz, pretty much in my opinion spreading rumors about Oz, and just in general making the situation so much worse for her ex-friends and ex-employees from Sad Milk. And again, I find this pretty hilarious considering Blair, as I've said multiple times now, cried in a YouTube video. She got the waterworks out, teared up, yet at the same time, she was sat in her Discord server slagging off the person that she cried about in the video only like a month later. I just don't really think we're dealing with somebody that actually has human emotions here. You're just like an AI, you're just a robot. And it seems that a lot of the comments pretty much agree with that. Somebody said that her entire channel was exposing shady businesses and business practices. Who knew it took a crook to know a crook? And yeah, this is pretty spot on. Everything that got exposed from her Discord server, whilst none of it is necessarily that groundbreaking, I don't think it's necessarily much of a shock that Blair was in a private server slagging off everybody under the sun. It just confirms a lot of the things out there. In particular, what Madison was saying earlier about how Blair goes around spreading rumors about people that she doesn't like, and if she was doing that about people like Oz Media, I can only imagine what she was doing it about the small commentary YouTuber who was slightly concerned that Blair may have took a little bit of inspiration from her. And what kind of shocks me about this whole thing is I was speaking to another YouTuber the other day and they were like, what's all this iilluminaughtii stuff about? How can there be so much about one commentary YouTuber? And honestly, you're not wrong. How is there so much about this one specific person in a span of 6 months? I just made a 5.5 hour video about the 8 passengers, and I can understand why that video was 5 hours long. There is years of stuff there, but it seems with Blair that there's just a freakish amount of stuff, and it only makes me think this person must be even worse than I thought, and it goes back to the Creepshow Art allegations of her being Creepshow Art 2.0. When Creepshow Art was getting exposed to the things that she was getting exposed for, it created hours upon hours of content, and you just sat there thinking, how is this faceless commentary channel got so much skeletons in their closet? It is absolutely insane. But what makes it even more insane is we've been speaking about coincidences throughout this entire thing, but this coincidence that a comment on Diesel's video pointed out is even more terrifying. Creepshow Art highly promoted a candle company. iilluminaughtii highly promoted her own candle company. What's with those unhinged women and candles? And this is my theory, man. Have you ever seen iilluminaughtii and Creepshow Art in the same room? No, nobody has, because they've never shown their face. Well, actually, I think they have, but they don't show their face in videos. Have you seen this individual and this triangle individual in the same room? You haven't, because they're the same fucking human being. But yeah, moving on from Creepshow Art and me losing my mind seemingly, there was another there was another message from Blair exposed in Diesel's video, and again I can't show it for copyright reasons, but basically the DM is Blair stating that she is writing a book. Oh yes, YouTuber books are back. And in the message, I believe she says that the book is going to pretty much be about being cancelled on the internet. And I will just say, I cannot wait for a random commentary YouTuber with 5,000 subscribers to make a 6-hour video about that. I cannot wait for that day. Blair, do you really think that this book thing is going to go down well for you? Because I in my own judgment, I personally don't think it will. And in fact, it may be the first book to make negative sales. But yes, this expose, Madison's expose, and pretty much all of the other million exposés out there in the last 6 months about iilluminaughtii have only made the situation continuously heat up and just get worse and worse every single day for Blair. New videos dropped every day, a new investigation dropped, a new expose dropped, and of course, naturally, this started to affect the pockets of Blair. And of course, this was naturally come from losing subscribers, meaning your viewership goes down, and meaning that there are less ads going to be played on your channel, meaning your money on YouTube drops. But what was particularly interesting was sponsors started to drop Blair. HelloFresh ended their business relationship with Blair, Stitch Fix dropped theirs too, as did ExpressVPN, as did Factor, and even the candle company that Blair apparently created seemingly told a customer that Blair is no longer associated with the company. I mean, it's like that scene in The Social Network where Andrew Garfield gets kicked out of the company. Instead, in this case, it's a failing candle company. It's not really a good comparison, because Andrew Garfield is a wonderful human being, and sorry, ignore that. But yeah, she lost a lot of sponsors, she lost a lot of money, and I will just say, well, isn't that the consequences of your own actions? But if there's one thing that I think this did, I think it definitely angered Blair. I think the reason that we've seen her lash out so much, take out her anger in the courts on her ex-friends, is most likely because not only has she been affected socially, but now her finances are being attacked. She is now being hit on every single level, and I can only imagine that will take a massive hit once again on her ego. I think a big reason to why she has been so irrational in the last year is because she pretty much is just losing everything. Of course, that's not a justification, it's more of an observation. As I just said, this is the consequences of your own actions, yet she still does not understand that. Which is quite maddening considering the content that she makes, considering she makes critical analysis every single day when she uploads on her YouTube channel, that she cannot critically analyze the fact that she is in the wrong in this situation. And my genuine belief is that iilluminaughtii is never going to make a statement where she apologizes for everything that we have spoken about today and all the other content creators in the world have spoken about. I genuinely think that Blair is hoping that she wins her multiple lawsuits. I think that she thinks if she, wins against Oz Media, wins against the other people involved in those lawsuits, I think she thinks that the public will see that and think, oh, she was proven to be defamed, I guess, in court. That automatically means that she is the innocent one and Oz Media and all the others are the bad guy. Whereas I think most people on YouTube will see that and think, wow, you just silenced content creators using your position of power and wealth. That doesn't prove you of being an innocent person. That just makes you even more of a bellend. These lawsuits aren't going to help her. Sure, she may win them, but obviously, in the eyes of the public, in the eyes of the society, we're, I think, all going to continuously think that Blair is a bellend. But I think this does actually now lead us into the lawsuit of iilluminaughtii, because of course I've been referring to it throughout this entire video, and I think we now need to briefly take a look into this lawsuit, whether it's going to negatively impact Blair, which obviously it's going to, and whether the people involved are going to lose or win. Now, defamation on YouTube is a very touchy subject in my opinion. I feel like whenever I see somebody pressing a defamation lawsuit against another content creator, it always makes me feel a little bit, a little bit fishy, especially when it's a content creator who, as I said earlier, is a commentary YouTuber. I feel like when somebody out there is saying something about you and you are known for making commentary videos, you should have the critical thinking skills to be able to basically prove everything that they're saying wrong. Now, of course, in some scenarios, there can be a situation where actual real slander has happened, and of course, defamation lawsuits are a fine route to go down. But in a situation with iilluminaughtii, I don't think that's a case of that. I think a lot of people out there have given their very fair experiences and personal opinions on iilluminaughtii, and in this case, with a defamation lawsuit that iilluminaughtii is putting onto those people right now, this is her silencing people. This is not her trying to get genuine compensation and justice. This is her trying to use her position of power to silence critics. And I think the big question is, will the people involved in this lawsuit actually win against iilluminaughtii? Well, we're actually going to investigate that right now, and it starts off with a channel called Mad Catster, who basically is a YouTuber that goes through a lot of legal situations that happen on social media. For example, they cover the Sniper Wolf situation, and in this case, they have been covering the iilluminaughtii situation, where they have been basically doing critical analysis of every single part of the lawsuit that Blair is currently involved in, and I think this is genuinely incredibly interesting to watch, because it really does just represent how far this situation has gone. Just in a few months, this situation has gone from a little bit of YouTube drama, a silly tweet about Legal Eagle, to, oh my god, this person is actually trying to ruin her ex-friends' lives. The people that she cried about, basically said that she misses, she is now trying to take everything away from them. But yes, as somebody that has gone through all of Madcatster's videos about this situation, I'm just sat here a little bit confused about this lawsuit, because genuinely, it just kind of feels that every point that Blair's lawyer has made in this article, it's just an opinion, and I know that's what a lawyer's job is, but you just sat there thinking to yourself, couldn't this just be a YouTube video? Could Blair not fire up a video where she combats everything said against her in a YouTube video? Now, me and you know she cannot do that, because we all know that everything, in my opinion, that she would say would be a complete and utter lie. But let's take a look at some of the rather peculiar points made in Blair's side of the lawsuit. On July 23rd, a defamatory video titled "The Fall of MS... YouTube's Biggest Bully" was posted about plaintiffs. This video was published by ... In that video, defendants speak publicly about their intents to publish another defamatory video. Now, this point made in this lawsuit is very interesting to me, because they're using examples from content creators that aren't involved in this lawsuit. Now, what they are referring to here is, of course, Madison's video, which once again just shows how rent-free Madison truly is in iilluminaughtii's mind, but also, this is just really confusing, because how can you use someone else's video as a point against the individuals in the lawsuit when that video was not their own video? But also, the wording in this paragraph is very confusing to me, because it says they intend on making a defamatory video. Now, that's very confusing, because intend implies they have not done that yet. So therefore, they are suing over something that does not exist. Now, I don't know the law that well, but I don't think that's an actual point which wins any points here for Blair. That's just you being like, oh, that person might murder that person. They haven't done it yet, but, you know, let's just press a murder charge on it. It doesn't make any sense, because they haven't done it yet. But also notice that it says intent to publish another defamatory video. Now, I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but I don't think anybody in this situation who is involved with Blair legally would say, oh yeah, I'm going to go onto the internet on my social media profile with hundreds of thousands of followers and defame this content creator who we already know is absolutely unhinged. I don't think that anybody would admit to purposely going to defame somebody. That means that they're going to go onto their profile and lie about them on purpose. I don't think anybody said that, and I think what's actually being referred to here is Oz Media in the past stating that they are working on another video about Blair, and Blair's lawyer, in their opinion, has taken this and is now saying, oh yeah, they're basically saying that they're going to defame Blair. Now, that's my opinion, that's what I'm reading here, and of course Blair's lawyer may argue something differently, but where has Oz Media ever said, or anybody involved in the situation said, I'm going to defame Blair? Because you don't have to defame Blair. That's the beautiful irony here. Blair just constantly sets herself up for failure by just having the issue of being a chronic bellend. She cannot help herself in any scenario. In the most severe scenario, she cannot help herself. But even in small scenarios, not small, but lesser scenarios, which we've gone over today, for example, the drama with Madison, she still could not help herself in any case or scenario in that. So here we have just complete utter bollocks, in my opinion, because nobody needs to defame Blair when the only person that has actually attacked her own fame is herself. And in fact, it pretty much seems that this entire lawsuit is basically nothing but Blair's opinion. And I know that's not necessarily a shock, but I at least thought that maybe there would be something groundbreaking brought to the table here if she's going to bring this to court, but there really is absolutely nothing amazing here. It goes through situations such as Wonderstruck with the car, and again, there's nothing groundbreaking here that changes things other than Blair just trying to make it sound like she's in the right, which of course is what a lawsuit's going to be, but it's not really anything revolutionary or proving something that we didn't already know. And there are just other really weird criticisms in this, such as bringing up GoFundMes and making it out to sound like it's a malicious thing. During the video, both defendants openly state that they are aware of the non-disclosure language of their agreements. After the video was produced, Blair sent a cease and desist to defendant. He reacted by starting a GoFundMe page seeking money to pay legal fees. And the only real reason that I can think that this is mentioned is almost to just belittle the person that they're speaking about here, which I think is quite fascinating considering the reason that this certain individual needs money to combat legal fees is because Blair has put that person in a financially vulnerable position. Blair is at fault for that, and they are now mocking this person for just asking for help when the reason they need help is because of Blair. And then when you go further into the case, there is also a mention of how DMs between Blair and people in Sad Milk were turned over to a YouTuber that was then used in a video made to slander Blair. But isn't slander a false spoken statement designed to damage somebody's reputation? Showing real DMs, in my personal opinion, isn't slander. If those DMs are real, that's just what you said. I don't really think that can be described as slander. Maybe the argument of it being taken out of context can be, but even then I feel like that's a little bit of a push. Now you can argue in some cases that DMs shouldn't be shown, but to call it slander, I don't really think it is. I think it just comes into an argument of ethics at that point. Do you think it's morally right to show DMs? Personally, I think if it's proving somebody is terrible like Sad Milk were trying to do, then I think it's not really that bad of a thing. In fact, I feel like they're justified given everything that they have had to go through when it comes to their experiences with Blair. And what this lawsuit to me is just what Blair's video would be if she actually responded to everything that we've covered today and everything since the situation absolutely exploded back in May. And that wouldn't make it a good video, it would just be her giving her opinion and basically saying, oh, all of these things that you've been told, complete utter lies and slander. Is there going to be any factual evidence to back what she's saying there? Personally, I don't think so. Going through this lawsuit, it does just seem to be an opinion piece by the lawyer saying this is slander, this is out of context. I just personally don't think that the arguments being made here are necessarily good in terms of swaying the public opinion. But that's where the problem starts to come in here, because obviously Blair has the money. Blair can afford a very good lawyer, and of course, being a dick isn't necessarily a crime, but with what's being described in this lawyer, with how the lawyer has described everything, I just feel like there is a genuine possibility that Blair could win this case, and that does just come from me having a lack of faith in the legal system and seeing it as a system that prioritizes people that have money. America is this country which loves to back itself as the free speech loving nation, but it seems that so many people in that country sue people for slander if somebody says something slightly negative about them. But in fact, all I think that has been said about Blair is that she is a nasty person, and people have given evidence. People have posted screenshots. I don't think that's a problem, but obviously I don't really know how the legal system works other than it's a flawed system which in my opinion prioritizes people that are rich. And Blair, as we have seen, is a very rich person. Still to this day, she is uploading YouTube videos, which whilst they don't get as much views as before, she will still be making a lot of money. Blair is a millionaire. Blair has a crypto farm. Blair is somebody that does understand the world of business, and she is in a significant position of power. This lawsuit, whilst it is hilariously terrible in my opinion, I think Blair knows what she is doing, and she is once again abusing that position that she is in to silence individuals. Just going back to that DM from Madison earlier, it's clear that this is what she loves to do when she actually doesn't have a valid argument to make. In that DM with Madison, she didn't just go ahead and disprove what Madison was saying. Instead, she just said, I'm going to make a video on you. I don't believe a video ever came out, but that DM, in my opinion, was meant to be a threat to get Madison to stop talking. She doesn't care about resolving things maturely. She just will do everything to prioritize herself and her business. And I guess the big question is, will the people being sued by iilluminaughtii such as Oz Media lose this defamation lawsuit or win this defamation lawsuit? Honestly, I don't know. As I said, I have no faith in the legal system. I truly don't. As I said, I don't think it's a fair system, and I do hope the best for everybody involved because I think it is incredibly unfair. And I think this whole thing is so unbelievably hypocritical that this is a lawsuit coming from somebody whose whole channel is based on free speech. Blair makes millions off speaking about other people, but she cannot handle it when somebody negatively speaks about her. And that is pretty much the entire iilluminaughtii story. She is allowed to say anything she wants. She is allowed to say negative things about other people. She is allowed to go on podcasts negatively speaking about other content creators, but the moment somebody does it with her, she could not handle it. There is a lot more to this lawsuit which I don't really feel the need to go through. It is a lot of nonsense, but I do highly recommend you go watch Madcatster's video about it. He covers it extensively and in an excellent way, and the links will of course be in the description. But ladies and gentlemen, it all does not end there, because whilst we're dealing with two ongoing lawsuits affecting innocent people out there because of Blair being an absolutely terrible person, somehow there is now another lawsuit that we need to look into, and this lawsuit actually is a little bit of a twist, because rather than Blair suing other individuals, it actually turns out that Blair herself right now is being sued by Colorado, and this is a very strange situation, and it also just kind of gives us a bit of a representation of Blair's current financial situation, which then helps us understand possibly why Blair is acting in the absolute insane way that she's been acting for the last 9 months. So yes, let's get into all of that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, throughout this video, we've spoken about Blair being basically the owner of multiple businesses, having a lot of employees, having a lot of different hands in different pockets. You know, she's got a crypto farm, allegedly. She's got, you know, a YouTube empire. She apparently has multiple properties. She apparently has a candle business and was working with a lot of sponsors. So with that information, you would take in that iilluminaughtii is genuinely a very business-savvy person, especially seeing how she swindled a lot of people into a lot of terrible positions such as Wonderstruck, such as Oz Media. You'd think that this is a person who, despite how terrible they are absolutely on top of everything business-related. And by that, you would think this person is in a very financially stable position. They've been doing YouTube for like 4 years consistently at the top level. You'd think they've got a lot of money in the bank, but this is where things start to get strange, because yes, as I said, Blair is currently being sued by Colorado. On the 31st of December 2023, Happy New Year by the way, once again Madcaster uploaded a video called iilluminaughtii is being sued. And of course, for multiple reasons, this is peak irony. Reason number one being, well, of course she is suing innocent individuals, but also she's not an innocent individual, so maybe this is the one time we can actually celebrate. But irony number two is this situation is so bad that the genuine belief that Blair could lose her own property is coming into question and possible belief here. And there are reasons for this that we're going to go into, but I think that's quite hilarious considering what she has done to other individuals in terms of trying to foreclose certain people's houses. It's terrible, but ultimately, you've got to kind of laugh at how some things can just come back to bite you. But yes, let's finally take a look into why Blair is being sued in this rather strange scenario. But as you can see from these documents that were posted in Madcatster's videos, she is now being sued by the Colorado Department of Revenue over taxes that Blair has not paid. And I should just say, this information that I'm showing you right now is public information that Mad Catster got from requesting the information. I believe in America there are certain pieces of freedom of information which, if you use that Freedom Information Act, or whatever it's called in America, you will be granted access to this information right here. So I should just say, it's not like I'm leaking anything private, and anyway, it's already on the internet in somebody else's video. So yeah, I just thought I would say that, but obviously, this is really confusing because when you look into it, Blair is being sued for taxes that she didn't pay almost 4 years ago. This is a very, very confusing situation, especially when you take into the context of all of her financial avenues, which we have mentioned throughout this video. Blair, as we thought up until this point, is somebody that is in a, well, at least we thought she was in a very strong position of wealth, you know? She had a lot of money coming into her channel and a lot of sponsors and was working with a lot of companies, have property and probably investments outside of YouTube. This is somebody that we thought, yes, is terrible, but at least good with business and money. But of course, just like every single influencer out there, Blair absolutely is not good with money. And I am nobody to criticize not being good with money. I own 2 lightsabers that were, you know, they cost they cost me a lot of money, all right? Just don't judge me. I like spending my money, okay? Sue me. Don't sue me. We've had way too many lawsuits in this video, but please don't judge me. But yes, Blair currently right now owes $11,200 in taxes from 2021 and $2,900 in taxes from 2020. And according to Mad Catster, this screenshot comes from a delinquent taxpayer list, which only includes people who have not resolved their debt. And this has led to the Colorado Department of Revenue, as you can see, taking action in a now closed case, which kind of indicates she did not fight this. And again, this is according to Mad Catster. Basically, I'm word for word quoting what he said in this video. And again, I highly recommend going and checking out the entire thing. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, which Mad Catster does, and I'm sure will continue to do throughout the developments of this case. But yeah, I'm just particularly very confused by this. Now, as somebody that, you know, does run a business, I guess, I'm a business owner. I run a YouTube channel. But as somebody that, you know, I have to pay taxes for my income, like I have to do that, and I can understand why somebody would like break up their tax payments into chunks and pay it over time. You know, you get a big hefty tax bill coming through, you want to take advantage of some schemes of where you can pay it over time. That is understandable, but over time isn't paying a tax bill 4 years ago. That's just not paying the tax bill. This is a really confusing thing that makes me think that maybe Blair, as I said, financial position isn't what we thought it to be, which again is confusing considering Blair has almost 2 million. Blair used to have almost 2 million subs. Blair now has like, well, almost 1 million subs. She's just above it. She's getting close back down to that 1 mil, and I cannot wait for the 1 mil special. Sorry, it's near the end of the video. It's New Year's Eve. I'm being a bellend soon. Don't do that again. Way too many of those things. But yes, what I'm trying to say here is Blair is a former popular YouTuber that still uploads YouTube videos to this day. In fact, she uploads multiple videos every single month, if not every single week. And of course, the views are not what they used to be, but how much has she been spending her money? Because of course, she would have made lots of money when Blair used to get good views. It's just very, very confusing and indicates to me that Blair, over the years, perhaps has not been good with her spending. And my theory is Blair at one point of time was obviously at a very good position. She was at one point getting 14 million views in 1 month in July 2022. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a very, very successful position to be in. This, in my opinion, from my own calculations, I'm going to be wrong here. This is not accurate, but based on sponsorship, based on Google AdSense and all the other companies that she works with, in that month, I predict Blair made around $140,000. And honestly, it could be double that for all we know, depending on her CPM and, you know, sponsors and how much they pay and stuff like that. I'm just saying Blair at one point of time was earning very good money, and I think she thought that this was going to continue for a very long time. As we've seen throughout this video, Blair is a very egotistical individual. She pretty much built her business on her ego. She thought she could get away with absolutely everything, treating people in the worst possible way, as we've seen with Madison, as we've seen with Oz, Wonderstruck, The Click, everybody. this woman thought she would get away with everything, so I think that she probably was happy to spend a lot of money on a lot of silly things, perhaps new property, new cars, and stuff like that, you know, things that people spend their money on. And I think she assumed by 2024 she would still be earning, if not earning more, the same money that that sentence didn't make sense. She'd be earning basically the same amount she was making in 2022, or if not more. But now when you look at her views in 2023, this month alone she only got around 400,000 views. In comparison to July 2022, this woman is not earning the buckaroonies that she once used to. Oh, I need to stop saying words like that. She is not earning the money that she used to earn, and I think that has probably sent her into a little bit of a meltdown, which is completely understandable, to be honest with you, because if I went from 14 million views to 400,000 views, I would be losing my mind. But in this case, it is of course consequences of her own actions. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Blair was smart and delayed some tax payments, started paying it over time, but now because so much of her spending has come back to bite, because she's not getting the same amount of money that has come in, I think that possibly you may have some leftover tax payments that she may not be able to afford to pay, or may just not want to pay because it will take such a big chunk out of her bank accounts. And to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of like speculating on somebody's money. I know that may seem like, oh, well, you're doing it right now, and I understand that, but the reason I'm doing that is to get to the bottom line here of, I think that all of this is probably why, at least one of the reasons why, Blair is acting so irrationally and just lashing out in any sense that she possibly can. With Oz Media, with Wonderstruck and other employees who she's suing, in any situation, I think a big part of all of this is because she's not only losing her YouTube empire, but she's also losing her bank account. Her money is draining by the day, and yes, there is no justification for how she has treated people, but I think over time her actions have gotten worse and worse and more insane, and I think the logical understanding to that is this woman is just worried that she is going to basically lose everything. And yeah, Blair, you probably are if you don't stop doing the things that you're doing and getting exposed for on a day-to-day basis. I don't know what you expect by your own actions, but if you continue to sue people, foreclose people's houses, you're obviously going to lose more and more money, because who is going to want to support that other than an absolutely insane person? But also Mad Catster does go on to explain that this isn't a situation where Blair can be let go on it. It can't be like, oh, they'll have some sympathy and maybe the government will let them go. No, this debt is apparently now owned by a debt buyer, which actually has been owned by multiple debt buyers and traded to other debt buyers, which is now owned by a company called Marshall Recovery LLC, who purchased the debt from multiple other debt purchasers on the exact same day of January the 19th, 2022. It's a very weird situation, but it does not look good for Blair. And as Madcaster explains, this is because these companies are in the business of acquiring debt, and they will not let up on this debt. They will get that debt repaid, whether it's from Blair's bank account or whether it is from repossessing some of Blair's owned property or items. And I guess the question now is, well, what's going to happen with Blair in this situation? Where does this truly end for her? And honestly, I don't think it ends well. I think she's going to have to either repay this debt via her bank account, or these companies, as I said, are going to repossess some of her own things, perhaps even her property. Debt collection companies are absolute vultures. These are some of the worst, most evil individuals on the planet. When your business is reliant on other people's debts, and I know Blair isn't exactly a great person, but in any instance, when that is your business, you are a terrible person. So they don't have any morals. They don't care about making somebody feel sad. They're going to do everything they can to get their money. They don't care. Any method, they'll do it if it means they can get it. And this is where the great irony comes into it, of where Mad Catster speaks about in his video the possibility of them even repossessing her property or any object or thing that Blair owns, which, given the situations that we've spoken about today, is terribly ironic. And as much as it may seem like a bit of an outlandish thing to claim, I don't really think it actually is. I'm not sure that Blair actually has the financial capabilities to currently pay this debt off. Now, I may be completely wrong, but why would she have left it to going to court? I don't understand why she would do that if she could afford to pay this off, so I feel like maybe some things could be repossessed, and honestly, I don't think that Blair can actually work to earn the money in a quick amount of time either, and this now leads us into an interesting conversation about Blair's content in general, because obviously we mentioned the decline in views previously, and most of this does come from, obviously, all of the controversy, all of the things that she's been exposed for, but also, the content itself is just bad. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not somebody that really ever comments on somebody's quality of content. I don't really like to do that because I feel like anybody can do it with any individual, but in this sense, when I speak about this, there is good reason to why I am calling her content bad. I'm not just doing it to be a dick, to be like, oh, this person was cancelled, now I'm going to say their content sucks. No, that wouldn't be productive, but I saw a tweet recently which really made me realize how truly awful iilluminaughtie's content has gotten. So HBOMBERGUY, who is a very popular YouTuber who actually recently made a video which involves a critique of Blair, recently made a tweet saying iilluminaughti's quality standards have somehow gotten worse. In the latest video, the voiceover just cuts out for 5 minutes. And ladies and gentlemen, when I saw this tweet, I genuinely just thought to myself, okay, he's probably exaggerating. Maybe it wasn't 5 minutes, maybe it was like a minute, and because there was a minute clip underneath this tweet which he posted it with, and I thought, okay, maybe he's just joking. Maybe I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt to Blair, and I'm just gonna play you the starting of the clip that he posts.
Response could have easily given so many people their lives back, but instead, the wealthy were prioritized over those in need. That's why this disaster wasn't entirely natural. But what about other storms? And why does this keep happening?
Now, obviously, that is terrible. That is terrible, but does it really go on for 5 minutes? Well, let's just skim throughout it and see what happens. Blair, please say something, Blair, please. Blair, I'm actually starting to get concerned that this is going to be 5 minutes. You know what makes this so much funnier is that her character stills are still appearing on the screen and they're emoting and everything, but there's just nothing coming out. Maybe iilluminaughtii was so shocked by the situation that she's speaking about that she just couldn't get the words out, but just looking at the character stills, I don't know, something about it just completely tickles me. And yeah, when you look at the actual timestamps on the YouTube video, because she's done an actual chapter for this is what makes it even better. Whoever uploaded this video, her researchers, the people that work for her, they've put a chapter for this whole segment of where she is saying nothing, and I just think that's amazing. That's genuinely one of the best things I've ever seen an influencer do. I mean, people say that commentary YouTubers aren't talented, but it really is a talent to be this shit at your job. How have you done it, Blair? You've somehow managed to achieve peak terrible content. But I think the best part about this is this video has been up now at the time of recording this for around 4 days, and Blair still hasn't deleted it. It's still publicly available on her channel with thousands upon thousands of views, not millions because she doesn't get millions of views anymore, but it's still there and she just hasn't deleted it. And I'm starting to wonder, does she even know that there is this 5-minute gap in her video? Quarter of the video just has no audio. Is she unaware of that? Because I think that she actually might be. Because Blair on her entire channel now has disabled comments. You can't say anything. You can't leave any positive or negative feedback whatsoever. And I think there are 2 reasons for this. Reason number 1 being Blair obviously cannot handle criticism whatsoever. If you come into a comment section and say, Blair, 5 minutes of this video aren't there, she's gonna actually beat you up. She's gonna find you. She's not gonna do that, but over the internet, she may do like the E version of that. She will make a angry subtweet about you, basically. But also, reason number 2 that I think she has turned off the comments is because there are a very small amount of people right now that still actually don't know about all of this controversy and all of this drama. And that's why it's very important that you share videos like this. It also helps me out, but also share other people's videos about this situation. Because by Blair not having a comment section, these individuals that don't know about this are most likely not going to find out about it. Maybe they just go and watch Blair's videos and don't watch anybody else's videos in the space, and because there's no people angrily commenting on Blair's videos, they will not see anything and be blissfully unaware, and I think Blair knows that, and that is why she has made the conscious decision to turn off comments, because these people, these individuals, are the last people giving her money in terms of AdSense. But honestly, when you look at the state of her channel, when you look at the inability to accept any form of criticism, or just the inability to make actual functional YouTube videos, I am not shocked that this woman is in financial peril right now. I am not shocked that this woman is being sued by like Colorado, because this woman just in every single scenario does everything she can to absolutely hinder herself, make things a million times worse for herself. She is one of the most self-destructive influencers I have ever witnessed, and that is so, again, ironic considering her whole career is seemingly based upon documenting other people's self-destruction, other businesses' self-destruction. How can you, after all of that analysis, just not analyze the fact that your trajectory is just going down? It's not even going that way. It's just going like that. It's done. It's over. So yeah, I'm not really shocked by this lawsuit. I'm not shocked by the fact that it's happening, because Blair just continuously puts herself in the worst situation in terms of content, in terms of the actual opinion socially of her, and also in terms of financially. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's important to now move into the conclusion of this video, where we're going to work out what is actually going to happen with iilluminaughtii, because this has been going on for like a year now, and I think it has to stop at one point. So yeah, let's get into that. Congratulations, you've once again made it to the ending of a 2-hour video from me. You are honestly a big sad, but no, I'm joking. If you watch this in one stretch, I hope you were doing something else whilst watching it, because this is very long, and all my videos are long, and I need to start making 40-minute videos again. But yes, welcome to the conclusion, where we're going to now discuss what is actually going to happen with iilluminaughtii, because so far, it's just been nothing but absolute hell on earth for her in the last year, and that's not because she unfairly got treated. No, every single scenario, she just made things, as I've said, worse upon worse upon worse. So in 2024, it's a brand new year. Where is she going to go? Probably, honestly, it's just going to continuously get worse. I think at this point, given everything that we've looked at today, Blair is past the point of coming back. I don't think that she's going to apologize, because if she was going to apologize, I think she would have done it a very, very long time ago. As we saw in her video where she cried like 6 months ago, there was a smudge of feelings there, like human, real feelings from somebody, but since then it's just, oh, I'm repossessing your house now. So I don't think she can come back from that. I just think that we're gradually seeing this person implode, and eventually I think she will probably just disappear off the face of the internet. Of course, she is still getting around 40,000 views a video, but I seriously don't think that's gonna last. With everything ongoing right now with multiple lawsuits, I just think it's going to end in financial catastrophe for Blair. Now, honestly, I don't wish for anybody to lose all of their money in business. I would feel wrong doing that. I've witnessed the financial crisis of 2008. I know it's a stressful time. I remember my parents were stressed out whilst I was asking for a McDonald's and a new video game. You know, Mario Kart was coming out in 2 years. I needed that. But yeah, I understand that it's stressful to not have any money. I understand your business declining can be very stressful. As somebody that does, as I said, run a business, it can be stressful when some months are high and some months are low. But with Blair, it's just a continuous trajectory of lower and lower and lower. There is really no repairing this, in my opinion. She has done everything she can to just damage her reputation, damage her actual content, and just damage, honestly, who she is as a human being. I really don't know why anybody after all of this would trust iilluminaughtii, and if they ever did, I imagine it's going to take at least 5 years of rebuilding her reputation, and realistically, ladies and gentlemen, I've never seen that before. When has somebody damaged their reputation so badly on YouTube where they've actually managed to come back from it? The only one I can possibly think of is Logan Paul, but even today, people still think that guy's a scumbag. Because he is, by the way. Even looking at other YouTubers that have been involved in scandals like Syndicate in the past, the man has still continuously made content, but his reputation has forever been tarnished. I feel like it's very, very unlikely to come back from this, because honestly, it's never really happened. So yeah, in conclusion, iilluminaughtii is the reason that her channel is dead. iilluminaughtii is the reason that she is now in court over her unpaid taxes. iilluminaughtii is the reason that she lost all of her friends. iilluminaughtii is just in general, in my opinion, not a very good individual. It's honestly quite a sad story, and I really do wish nothing but the best for the victims of her, and I will say victims because this woman has put so many people through such turmoil in the last few years. So I'm going to end the video by saying nothing but best wishes for them. If you want to check out the individuals that I've spoken about in this channel, such as Madison, such as Madcaster, Oz Media, all their links will be in the description. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have anything that you want me to speak about in terms of this topic or any other topic, please let me know in the comment section. I would genuinely really appreciate it. I hope in 2024 we can make a lot more videos. I'm going to try and be far more consistent. I'm going to try and get a video every week, and it's not like I'm being lazy. I just like my videos being longer. I like doing a lot of research, speaking about a lot of stuff in one compact video rather than multiple things covering one situation in like 5 videos. I don't really want to do that anymore. So yeah, who knows what's going to happen in 2024. Maybe iilluminaughtii will make a comeback. Probably not, but alas, that is the end of the video. Thank you very much, everybody. Please, 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 please subscribe to the channel. I really need to, what's the word? Recommend it? Ask you to? It's just sometimes people forget, yet they still watch the videos. It's very confusing, but also, if you want to be an absolute hero, please like the video. And if you want to be an absolute god, comment something. Comment beans for all I care. Comment Bean Nation, or just your opinion. I won't read it, but, you know, maybe, actually no, that's a lie. If you comment your opinion in the first 3 hours of me uploading it, I'll probably see it. If it gets top comment, I'll probably see it. But if you want to be a hero, just do all 3 of those things. Like, subscribe, comment, and have a bloody good new year. Peace out, everybody. Have a cracking day, week, year, whatever you want to do. Bye-bye. Goodbye. I just said bye twice. That was really weird. I don't know how to end videos anymore. I'm just waffling. Sorry. Bye!